or the narrative, same thing. And what is his name? Zarqawi or whatever, the main kind of, head guy of Egyptology, he's been on television, he's been blowing smoke up our ass for decades. As soon as this happened, he came out immediately and dismissed and discredited the shit. And when I was looking at the documents, which I'm going to show you the abstract in just a few moments, we're going to get into it ourselves. We're going to look at the peer reviews as well. I mean, it was immediately attacked. There were so many different videos and so-called experts that came out and was just saying how much bullshit it was, that it was super old data, and just, it's like, man, they do not want for one, people to believe that we were more so technologically advanced in the past than we are now. That's one thing. And for two, they don't want us to find out, I guess, I don't know if find out is a good word, but they don't want us to discover, that there was free energy and, through archaeoacoustics and, cymatics and shit like that, like through vibration and frequency and fucking sound. They were able to levitate heavy objects. They were able to generate free energy, purely off of the ether, because the education system was changed, I believe, in 1920. So before 1920, the ether was part of the periodic table, right? And, they still give the guy credit who created the periodic table, but, they've taken out the aether and it's AETHER, right? They don't want us to know that because they want us stuck on oil and, all of that. They're fossil fuels, so they call it, because that's how they keep us in this perpetual slave system.
In the Giza Death Star, Joseph Farrell proposed that the Great Pyramid of Giza was a weapon of mass destruction using a type of physics that he calls paleophysics.
Look at that. The remarkable thing is that the Dogon mythology may reflect yet another lingering trace of a vanished paleophysics. For modern quantum mechanics posits a little more than 200 fundamental particles. As we shall discover in Chapter 6, there may be a relationship between the stone courses of the pyramid and modern atomic and quantum mechanical theory. In any case, as many have observed, the resemblance between some of the Dogon signs and conceptualized quantum particles is amazing. The tribe also appears to have accurate descriptions of the four forces of modern theoretical physics. And I wonder if that's like the four forces or four elements. With four seeds, whose name in the Dogon language means to draw together: gravitational force, bumpy, electromagnetic force, stocky, strong nuclear force, and that bows its head, weak nuclear force. In any case, perhaps the interest of the intelligence community and Masonic fraternity in the temples, the serious mystery indicates the real interest, the possibility of sophisticated paleophysics lying buried in ancient traditions, myths, and esoteric texts. It does suggest that these communities may indeed be aware of far more than they are telling. Sorry, guys, I had to kind of move this around to see it.
To focus energy as a scalar weapon. The cylindrical wells could be conduits for energy or sound waves, and the cubic structures might serve as energy storage.
And they're fucking huge.
Akin to components in a large-scale weapon or generator. And the detection of vibrations in the pyramid's internal structures reflects all of these ideas. The Khafre project hopes to plan an excavation in order to discover more about this underground structure. But
they plan to excavate, and here's the kicker when it comes to that. The Egyptian government guards this thing like a fucking, a pit bull. Like, you're not getting past them, right? In order to touch, the pyramid. You see they're doing this restoration with the Sphinx, like literally putting new rock on this thing, and it looks like dog shit as they're doing it. They're absolutely ruining the Sphinx by doing these things. These restoration projects, they're the ones who removed a lot of the shit from the pyramids in the first place, right? And they have their front man, that Zerkari or whatever, right? And people like that are part of their little regime, that speak with the official mouthpiece, and it is to keep the official narrative, right? And nothing outside of that. That's why Zerkari or whatever has bashed Graham Hancock and people like that, because they're not open to the story changing. They're not open to new discovery. They're not real scientists. They're propagandists is what they are.
History shows that this will be very difficult to get approval for. Greg Reese reporting.
Yeah.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
Talking of pyramids, dude, this new pyramid shit that's just come out.
Oh, this is insane. Yeah, I was going to send this
And it's big time when it's on
to you
Rogan.
as well, Jamie. I'll send you one of the most comprehensive breakdowns of it on X because it's quite stunning. So apparently, through the use of LiDAR, they have discovered that there are enormous structures underneath the Great Pyramid that go kilometers deep into the earth with coils. So enormous pillars, and then these coils. They don't understand what it is because they're just looking at LiDAR images. But whatever this is a uniform structure. There's several pillars, and all of this is like very, very, very weird.
Yeah, it's 600 meters descending down those cylinders, and then there's more stuff below it, and then there's additional structures inside of it. Yeah, that was crazy.
It's really crazy. There's a guy, Jay Anderson, and he did a breakdown of it. Maybe this would be good. We could play this. It makes a little more sense when someone's explaining it to you.
Well, yeah, I mean, we need somebody that's an expert here, not me and you.
Zawi Hawass, by the way, has said it's nonsense.
There he is.
So I don't know
Already?
Yes. According to Graham Hancock. This is the wonderful thing about having Graham
I texted
Hancock's
Graham yesterday. I was like, yeah, what's going on with this?
Yeah. So click on that and go full screen, please.
How significant of a discovery this is.
Dun, dun, dun. I love the music. And geometry, so you know it's real.
You got to appreciate the dramatic intro.
Right.
Project Unity.
What has just been announced in relation to the pyramids at the Giza plateau and the plateau itself is so incredible, so awe-inspiring and narrative shattering that I have been sitting here for the last hour trying to wrap my head around the implications of what we were just told. So this is pretty much breaking news because the new findings were announced on the 16th of March at a press conference held by the team who was studying the Great Pyramid of Giza with a non-invasive technology that was first developed by Filippo Bionde and Corrado Malanga, called synthetic aperture radar Doppler tomography.
Fuck, that's a
This
mouthful.
was used to explore the internal
Chiropractor
structure
talk.
of the Great Pyramid of Giza. And this method leverages the analysis of micro movements typically generated by background seismic activity to achieve a high resolution, full 3D tomographic imagery of the pyramid's interior and subsurface components. The recent findings from deploying this technology are nothing short of mind-blowing, because what's been discovered is that there are huge structures coming down from the base of the pyramid deep into the bedrock. In fact, over 600 meters deep, which then connects to structures that extend up to 2 kilometers below the surface of the ground. 2 kilometers. Massive internal structures connected to the base of the pyramid and extending deep, deep down. This is what we know so far.
What?
Now, I want you to actually think about this, and I would love to know y'all's thoughts on this. Hold on. I got some other videos, but we'll save those for later. I would love to know some of your thoughts of this.
This may be the most
Yeah, this is a good one, but I'll show you guys here in a little bit on the other videos. I would love to know your guys' thoughts on this and whether you or not you think this is bullshit. What you've heard about this.
So let's
You
go to
can
this.
Put this in the chat, put this in the comment section, whatever. I will try to, well, I will post the document for you guys in the chat. This is it. And we're going to look at, and this is the actual synthetic aperture radar Doppler tomography. It reveals details of the undiscovered high resolution. Hopefully I have right here. This is the official press release, and then we're going to look at the document here.
Good evening and welcome to the Expedition channel, the official channel of the Kefren project. This is an announcement in my role as head of communications for the research project. I will now read the official press release of the Kefren project, which has just been sent to the Italian and international press. Here it is, regarding the Giza plateau. A vast underground city has been discovered beneath the pyramids. It is the mythical Amenti. This discovery.
Wow. So she's saying that, and I've heard this too, and I did actually, I have tonight, we're going to look at it. I have some ancient text too to kind of go with this. And one not so ancient, but it's allegedly like a channeled or whatever about the pyramids. I just got some interesting stuff to kind of, go with all that we're seeing. And we're going to look at the Emerald Tablets of Thoth and what he says about the halls of Amenti as well. She's making this claim, and she's not the only one. There's been a few others that have made the claim that this is actually, the underground chamber to the halls of Amenti. And if you guys have ever read the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, the Atlantean Priest King, then he does mention that it's actually underneath the pyramid. And we have this, hidden structure. And keep in mind this LiDAR or whatever, this tomographic data or whatever, it's not set in stone that, this shit's actually there the way that they're laying it out. And I've even seen some of the people that were commenting on the peer reviews, alluding to the fact that it could possibly even be pareidolia, right? Pareidolia meaning like seeing something that's not there, like listening to white noise and thinking you hear a voice or, something like that, because our brain is very good at putting patterns together, even shit that's not really, doesn't really go together. We can, we have a great ability at doing that. Keep in mind, like we see 0.0001% of the electromagnetic light spectrum. So we put a lot of shit together for our eyes to see reality. We're missing a whole lot of fucking data and still are able to put together and piece together the image we call, our world and reality. But yeah, some people have said it's pareidolia. Some people have said that, this is evidence of, some type of, that they're, vibrations like pounding the ground, create vibrations for some type of, hydrogen powered machine. Others have, like an earthquake machine. I've heard people say that this is, the halls of Amenti. Other people say that this is, weapons. This is for spiritual shit. So it's like there's a million different explanations.
Was made possible thanks to SAR satellite data and archaeological research. As part of the Kefren research project, Dr. Armando Mai, Professor Filippo Biondi, and Professor Corrado Malanga have invited both Italian and international press to a special conference, held both in person and online, to reveal the results of an innovative and groundbreaking study that has redefined the boundaries of satellite data analysis and archaeological exploration. During the press conference, for the first time ever, structures believed to correspond to the legendary halls of Amenti will be revealed.
Wow.
Using
Halls
synthetic
of
aperture
Amenti.
radar (SAR) technology, combined with the new Doppler tomography methodology, the research team has made a series of unprecedented discoveries, located precisely beneath the Giza plateau. This technological innovation involves converting photonic radar information into phononic signals, vibrational data within the acoustic band, thus enabling the exploration of deeply buried structures beneath the Earth's surface. The main discoveries to be presented include the identification of structures, rooms, and corridors within the Pyramid of Khephren, the discovery of an extensive network of vertical shafts, estimated to extend at least 1 kilometer deep beneath each Great Pyramid, which appear to serve as access points to this underground system.
Wow.
The existence of vast chambers beneath the Earth's surface, comparable in size to the pyramids themselves. A remarkably strong correlation between the layout and characteristics of these underground chambers and the legendary halls of Amenti, as described in ancient myths, including those associated with the god Thoth. This discovery opens new frontiers in both archaeology and SAR satellite remote sensing technology, combining advanced data processing with historical narratives to unveil the past of humanity.
Yeah, and see, this is associated with the ancient god Thoth, right? And there you have it. See, we're gonna, the Emerald Tablets, and I'm not gonna call nobody out. Especially other creators, they do what they do. They have their opinions, but I do know that there are pretty prominent occultist or self-proclaimed spiritual teachers, um, that get into magic and hermetics and, esoteric and occultic studies. And, that say the Emerald Tablets of Thoth are just basically bullshit, that the only real documents is the Emerald Tablets, not the ones, that most people are familiar with, right? But the older Hermetic writings, and that the Emerald Tablets of Thoth were, the guy that they were written by, he didn't actually find shit, that he claimed to. And I'm trying to think of it. He actually, if you've read the Emerald Tablets, it talks about I think it's 10 it's like 10 of 12 or something like that. Like there's missing 1 or 2 chapters at the end. And it says that those will be revealed at a later date and time, that they weren't allowed to be revealed at that time that he wrote them and released them. But I do know that there is a version, like a very limited version. When he first released the Emerald Tablets, there was a limited number of them, and they had an extra chapter or extra 2 in the back of the book. And if you go to, in which we can actually go listen to those if you guys want. We won't do it now, but when we get into the tablets, let me see if I can, that way I don't forget here. It's the Ancient Astronaut Archives, and they have the final 2, or what is believed to be the final 2, and I think this one's it right here. I think this is it. Yeah. So where's it at here? We're just gonna go ahead and get this ready for later. And what is his name? Billy Carson actually said that, he's made claims, which I mean, he's been getting fucking hammered in the media. You know, like I've always said this, that people love to build you up, especially if you're like a public figure or whatever, and if you've had success, even more so. But Billy Carson, you know, they've been tearing his ass up. He did that debate with Wes Huff. Wes ended up going on Joe Rogan and doing all the super huge podcast after that, you know, just trashing Billy Carson. And it kind of looked like they ambushed his ass. You know, he was his neighbor and his buddy. You know, has him over and they're supposed to do a fucking podcast together. He's being cool enough to come on this guy's shitty ass podcast, you know, because it's his homie. And then dude ambushes him by having another guy waiting, you know, to fucking, you know, debate him. It was just, I think it was shady as fuck, dude. And then the way that, you know, Wes handled it afterwards, I thought wasn't very classy, you know. And just whatever, you know. But Billy Carson, a lot of people think he's a grifter anyways, or he's full of shit anyways, and that's on you, whatever you believe about him. To me, he seems like an all right guy. You know, he's got some out there theories, but I feel like he's also, you know, been on the mark with some shit too. And he's worked hard to get to where he's at, so I don't hate on him. But he did say that he had read the 2 tablets that were, you know, supposedly to be released at a later date, but he never provided them. So then Ancient Astronaut, whatever, you know, they kind of blasted him on this as well. So about the tablets. Let's see what it is. Let me see if I can find this real quick just to have it pulled up, guys. Fuck. 1 second. Trying to think. Unreleased. Where's it at? That's the original. I think, okay, this is how I think it goes. It'll be inside of this one in the description. So, I think it's right here. Yeah, so they have like the final books or whatever. Fuck, man.
Building AI agents.
The forbidden tablets right there.
Sci-fi and fantasy writing.
We'll go to this when we jump into this, but first I want to move over here as we're doing this, and then we will jump into the abstract. Hidden structures found under the Khafre Pyramid. New study claims researchers from the University of Pisa report the discovery of a large multi-level pyramid near Cairo, Egypt, using synthetic aperture radar or SRF. The findings have not yet been peer-reviewed, which they have, but have drawn significant online attention due to the scale of the claims and their potential implications for our understanding of ancient history. The internet has buzz about the Khafre Pyramid this week after researchers from the University of Pisa claim to have found a massive underground structure using cutting-edge technology. And notice nobody is saying that it's the halls of Amenti. Notice nobody is in like the mainstream at all. The technology used is synthetic aperture radar Doppler tomography, which we'll discuss later in the article. First, we need to understand what these researchers claim and what its implications could be. And no, this doesn't necessarily mean Egyptians were in cahoots with aliens and lizard people from far away. The analysis of dozens of tomographic SAR images obtained from different angles enabled the 3D reconstruction of the inside of the Pyramid of Khafre and deep beneath the surface of the plateau. And these are some of the images. I have all of the images and everything. I will drop them in the chat as we go along. So this is images of the Z structures under the Khafre Pyramid. I mean, this is where people get into saying it was pareidolia, right? So I would love to hear your guys' thoughts on this. I honestly would. The researchers, Karad Malanga and Filipino Bondi, claim to have found 5 identical structures called the Z structures under the Khafre pyramid, which are connected by geometric pathways. That's not all. According to them, each of these structures has 5 levels with sloping roofs. It gets more interesting as these columns are on top of 8 hollow cylindrical structures, which are surrounded by 2 spiral pathways, and it still doesn't end there. The cylindrical structures, in turn, are on top of 2 massive cubic structures measuring around 80 meters or 263 feet on each side. The structure reportedly extends approximately 2 kilometers or 1.2 miles beneath the surface and spans the area beneath all 3 pyramids of the Giza Plateau complex. And that's fucking amazing for real. And you can see this is the graphic representation of the cylindrical columns and the underlying cubic structures beneath the Khafre pyramid. See right there. According to mainstream epitomology, the Giza pyramids were constructed as tombs for pharaohs Khufu, Khafre, and Menkaure. The around 2500 BC, using techniques that likely involved ramps, sledges lubricated with water, and levers to move and position massive stone blocks. Quote, but the redundant mathematics in their construction, which includes pi, the golden ratio, the speed of light, along with the testimony of today's expert architects, suggests that the official story does not hold up. The massive underground structure revealed by the recent SAR data shows what appears to be a mechanical or functional system. If the structures are indeed real, their purpose remains open to interpretation. The geometric organization, multi-level design, and immense scale suggests that the subterranean complex may not have been a burial site in the traditional sense. The presence of spiral pathways, hollow columns, massive cubes could indicate a ceremonial, astronomical, or even energy-related function, concepts often explored in modern archaeology. Others might argue for a large-scale storage system, symbolic architectural mimicry, or even a forgotten aspect of an ancient Egyptian statecraft. And here's tomographic images of the cylindrical structures underneath the Khafre pyramid. You can see the cylinders. I mean, convincing enough, right? Here's graphical representation of the structures discovered under the Khafre pyramid. Like I said, I have the document, and you can look at all of these images firsthand yourself within this document also. So there are several reasons why claims have gained widespread attention, in which many are questioning the researchers' conclusions. The scale of the claims alone invites scrutiny, which is a natural part of the scientific process, especially when the implications challenge established understanding. The first reason is that the paper is yet to be peer-reviewed and validated, meaning none of the claims have been confirmed by the scientific community so far, which basically they're saying, we didn't tell you that this is okay. We didn't tell you that we agree. So it's bullshit. Like, this is academia for you. It's like there's no such thing as real science anymore. They all get paid and funded by, shit, and they all have agendas. It's politicized as fuck. Truth is not primary at all. So the narrative is. And maintaining that narrative to not undermine all of the bullshit they put together so far. I think I've told you guys before. You can see it on my Instagram. I used to have passes to the Cincinnati Museum of Natural History and shit like that. And then when I lived in Baltimore, I went to the Baltimore Museum and not Walter. I think it was Walter Reed Art Museum and some other Baltimore museum. And I took a bunch of pictures, and it had this whole section on Egypt, right? And it was just amazing. I was there for hours in the Egyptian section. And you can see the images on Instagram. It's wild. Every one of the statues, every one of the fucking things in there, like, seriously, this is the crazy part. They broke off. It's like it, once or twice, I would say, accident, You know, a couple of them coincidence, but every fucking single statue and monument and shit in there they would break off the right hand and the nose on a lot of them. Like the nose and the right hand, those are like the number one and number two things that were broken off of all of them. It's like every single statue. It's like, I wonder if it's because they like had a wristwatch or something on the right hand, or you know, something with who knows why the nose in particular, but it was like that throughout the entire museum. And you can look at the images on my Instagram after this video. It's Instagram.com best damn podcast. And I swear to you, dude, it is wild to see like how they had sabotaged every bit of you know, the relics that they had there, like to try to cover up something from the past. It was insane. The second is the technology used by researchers, SAR Doppler tomography, one of the two variants of SAR scan technology, contrary to claims made online. The technology used for the research does exist. And you can see right here images created from SAR data for the structures beneath the Khafre pyramid. SAR scans come under two categories. The first is normal SAR scans, which use a moving platform that sends out electromagnetic pulses to produce high spatial resolution for mapping surfaces. This form cannot be used for such research as the electromagnetic pulses just don't penetrate deep enough into the surface to discover structures this far below the ground. The SAR Doppler, which was used in the research, uses a different strategy. It's been tested for tomographic techniques using analysis of micro movements or small seismic disturbances from the structure. The technique was used with the help of proprietary software developed by Filipino Bondi himself, which uses SAR data to analyze these micro disturbances and create high-resolution images of structures under the Khafre pyramid. Although the technology is cutting edge, it hasn't had enough use cases to verify its accuracy. To the study's credit, Egypt is a great place to apply such technology as the geology is very uniform, and the lack of vegetation and near surface water makes it an ideal location for the use of such technology. The problem with vegetation and near surface water is that they could cause differences in the subsurface readings and affect the final results. The study in question uses SAR Doppler to analyze the micro movement between the soil and rock and void and the subsurface, which is filled with air. According to most experts, the technology used is legitimate but is relatively new and needs more verifiable use cases to confirm its accuracy. The researchers published a paper in 2022 confirming findings under the Pyramid of Giza using the same technology, which adds some validity to their claims. Many researchers, and seeing this is what people were talking about when they're saying this is old. No, that was under the Great Pyramid of Giza in 2022 using similar technology, which just confirms what the fuck they're finding here in Khafre. Many researchers have pointed out that the MDPI is a legitimate scientific journal, but is firstly not very reputable in the scientific community, and secondly, it has at times been accused of prioritizing profit over the quality of its publications, which scientists would never do that, right? See, this is what they're saying. Researchers point out that it's not a legitimate scientific journal, right? Because they're not in on it. And that it's not very reputable because they believe it prioritizes profit over publications. This is just bullshit when you hear this. This is like the pot calling the kettle black. Experts have also been raising eyebrows at the press release as if there are no follow-up links to the release. The release was conducted in a local press conference and is expected to be available to the public in Italian and English soon. And we actually did see that, right? And there's the original shit here. Now let's go to the actual document and take a look at that. Here we go. And I am going to, where's it at? I want to drop you guys this link so you can actually go check this out yourself. Ooh, this is the Great Pyramid of Giza one. Khafre. Okay, let's see what we got here. This is the structure of the Great Pyramid of Giza. So, a reach report. I don't know what the fuck that is, but let's see if we can find it. The link for you guys. Hold on. Okay, this is just the
Jermaine
just showed you guys where the ladies in the chat for you guys, so you can go check that out. Which I have a terrible fucking eye infection. I've been rubbing my eyes all day, so I see that they're red, guys. Where's it at? And let's see what this is here. This is the introduction to SAR. I just want to give you guys a few of these links. And I put the live replay on, so if you come back later, if you're like watching this on the flip side, you will be able to go like, check this shit out yourself. So, and let's see if we can get the Khafre project here for you guys. Well, I guess not. Let's just go here. I'm pretty sure I got other links, so I'll get it to you. All right, so here we go. This is the Great Pyramid of Giza. Hold on, this is not the one I want. Right here. This is some of the claims. All right, let me pull this up here. All right, pyramids. All right. Here we go. Synthetic aperture radar Doppler tomography reveals details of undiscovered high-resolution internal structure of the Great Pyramid of Giza. A problem with synthetic aperture radar SAR is due to the poor penetrating action of electromagnetic waves inside solid bodies. The capability to observe inside distributed targets is precluded. Under these conditions, imaging action is provided only on the surface of distributed targets. The present work describes an imaging method based on the analysis of micro movements on the Noum Khufu pyramid, which are usually generated by background seismic waves. The obtained results proved to be very promising. A high-resolution, full 3D tomographic imaging of the pyramid's interior and subsurface was achieved. Khufu becomes transparent when observed in the micro-movement domain. Based on this novelty, we have completely reconstructed internal objects, observing and measuring structures that have never been discovered before. The experimental results are estimated by processing series of SAR images from the second generation Italian Cosmos SkyMed satellite system, demonstrating the effectiveness of the proposal method. The introduction. The Pyramid of Khufu, also known as the Great Pyramid of Giza or Cheops, is the oldest and largest of the three main pyramids that are part of the necropolis of Giza. The infrastructure is built with blocks of granite weighing approximately each completion of the work is estimated to have taken at least 2.5 million blocks, put in place with millimeter precision in a short period of time, estimated at around 15 to 30 years. Despite being one of the oldest and largest monuments on Earth to date, there's still no common scientifically established idea on how the pyramids of Egypt were built. The Red Sea was the most important harbor facilities at the time of King Khufu, where an exceptionally well-preserved harbor complex from the early kingdom at Wadi al-Jarf along the Egyptian coast of the Red Sea has been excavated. In studying the origin of the pyramids, we believe we should not overlook the existence of ancient mythological writings, a study concerning the myths and folklore of the ancient peoples of the world, highlighting all the similarities between them. Um, the argument that myths are insignificant, often considered mere stories passed on through generations, has been challenged. The authors are open to the possibility that a technologically more advanced civilization existed before a known timeline, where the existence of various glacial ages prevented the passing down of history. They focus on the mythical cities mentioned in ancient Indian texts, describing how the subcontinent was an integral part of this. However, the Egyptian pyramids were built has remained an enduring mystery. A theory that the pyramids were cast of cement, like conglomerate made directly in situ using granular limestone aggregates and an alkali silicate binder, is proposed, and evidence is also discussed. And in order to obtain an accurate perception of how the pyramids were constructed, various engineering hypotheses were evaluated, noting that in their current form, they lay the foundations for new theories. At present, the general academic consensus that pyramids served as funerary monuments and burial sites for the pharaohs. However, it is also widely theorized that such infrastructures may have been built for another purpose. On an aseptic panoramic view, many connections can be found between the pyramids, vibrations, and many mechanical devices reminiscent of hydraulic systems, resonance chambers, and acoustic filters. The energy to make the pyramids vibrate can be provided by natural environment, and the Earth's atmosphere. Infrasound vibrations may provide the source of such energy. This provides a basis for the discussion of special classes of waves, including mountain Lee waves, infrasound, progressive waves in the lower atmosphere, and waves in the upper atmosphere and ionosphere. Atmospheric sound models extended to the combination effects of both finite depth ocean and source directivity in both elevation and azimuth angles are studied. Acoustic waves are widely used in the field of archaeology. The acoustics of three important World Heritage sites, such as the Five Caves in Spain, the Stonehenge Stone Circle in England, and the Paphos Theater in Cyprus, are studied. Groundwater can influence the magnetic field measured in the subsurface. The level of water in the rock determines its electrical conductivity and thus changes the magnitude of the telluric currents induced in the rock by the change in magnetic fields generated in the ionosphere. This can be studied by using several magnetometers at different points in the subsurface. Geomagnetic signals using two magnetometers were successfully monitored by setting an optimal electrokinetic magnitude signal upper bound, a methodology used for self-potential and seismic electromagnetic measurements, both for on-site and laboratory experiments as well as for modeling, is extensively described. The research also provides a bibliography on studies carried out in hydrology to remote detect water flows, to deduce their thickness, to predict their hydraulic conductivity. The observation method discussed also proposes the detection of fractures and wells, which also useful in trying to study earthquakes. Recent theoretical and experimental studies have produced several unusual and interesting results in the cold fusion of matter experienced on dense lithium. The existence of this exciting propriety of matter relates to 0-point energy estimates that suggest quantum effects play a significant role in shaping the phase diagram of lithium. The vibration-induced property change in the melting and solidifying process of silver nanoparticles with the use of molecular dynamics simulation was found. And the general problem of acoustic wave propagation through parallel paths is addressed by the information theory of two-port telecommunication networks. Such a circuit is schematically represented with concentrated elements by admittance that have a value compared to the sum of the corresponding instantaneous admittance existing along the parallel paths. in order to calculate all parameters, including those representing transmission losses, example given, the standing wave ratio. In the case of non-adaptive paths, a theory of transmission lines is well applicable. A kink tube acoustic filter, therefore, uses two parallel paths. In order to optimize the maximum wave propagation through the system, the kink tube must be adapted. Though the choice of length and thickness of the ducts can produce a selective transmission loss so that it can operate as an acoustic filter. In 26, the transmission loss characteristics of several other variations, and duct sizes and lengths are presented together with some very limited experimental data. The phenomenon of pressure pulsations in pipeline systems caused by centrifugal pumps or reciprocating compressors is known to have detrimental effects on industrial applications. An experimental investigation of the attenuation mechanism of Herschel kink device and its effectiveness in damping pressure pulsations when applied to a resonant piping system has been presented in 27. The development of mechanical engineering in ancient Egypt, though the stone industry was described in 28, covering the period from the pre-dynastic to the Old Kingdom. The characteristics and innovations of stone vessels available in these periods were analyzed. Conventional sound absorbers can hardly possess the good performance of low frequency and broadband absorption simultaneously. In order to combine these two functions into one kind of absorber, the gradually perforated porous materials backed with Helmholtz resonant cavity are proposed in 29. A strategy to design three-dimensional elastic periodic structures endowed with complete band gaps, the first of which is ultra-wide, where the top limits of the first two band gaps are overstepped in terms of wave transmission, and the finite structure is proposed in 30. Thus, subsequent band gaps are emerged, approaching the behavior of three-dimensional, low-pass mechanical filter. The debate on how the granite blocks could have been transported up the full height of the pyramids is still an open one. To this end, the theory of situ formation of the blocks by means of cement mixture has also been formulated. Starting with mineral substance such as granite rock or naturally eroded, disintegrated, or non-aggregated limestone, it is given a compact structure using a binder, such as a geological glue, that agglomerates to bond the mineral particles to each other. This result is a new rock with the same mechanical characteristics as a natural equivalent. Such a technique is supposed to have been used to build on Khufu. Now, let's go down here a little bit. This is a lot to read. So in figure 1, this is the optical satellite image of the Giza plateau with all of the pyramids oriented towards the north. And let me see, I've got some of these images larger, I believe, too. Where are they at?
So let's go to,
and we're going to go to yeah, right here. So you can see here's the image enlarged of the Giza plateau. And if you guys will remember, I'm going to actually post the motherfucking video on the main channel here. I did an interview a few years ago, maybe more, with Gary Parker, right? He was part of the whole Midnight in the Desert thing. He allegedly had contact with what he said was extraterrestrials. He called them the Anunnaki. And he had discovered a image on NASA's official website that was 10 years to the date. The image was 10 years to the date after the summer solstice in 2012. So it's like the solstice 10 years to the date after 2012 or some shit like that. Right. And he said he got a dream that told him to go look for this image. Right. He goes and looks up this image on NASA's official site, finds this image, right? And in the image, what he found, and this is the Giza plateau, and this is the pyramids, like what we're looking at now, are very similar. He sees that it has like this holographic kind of look to it, like something's off about the image. And he tilts his computer, and you can see like it's like layered almost, like vibrated into the sand. There was words written under the pyramids, and he did not doctor these images or nothing. They're straight on NASA's site. The image is actually the thumbnail of the video. I believe it's on my backup channel still, Best Damn Podcast 2. But I've got to remove all of my library from Facebook and all of them because they're now forcing us to get rid of our backlog of libraries on Facebook and all that. So all that shit's going to be on Patreon now. Not my fault. So, and it vibrates in the sand, and it's written in Hebrew, and it says, Lord and Lord of the underworld, right? In Hebrew, underneath the Great Pyramid. And it's got this giant fucking alien head, on the Giza plateau, or what he says is an alien head. And if you look at the sand in the image, it's like this whole creation story is vibrated into the sand, down to an asteroid or a comet or something hitting the earth, and a monkey and an alien coming together. I mean, it's even got Jesus at this river of souls. It's just wild shit. And you guys, you've got to hear it, for it to. I mean, it sounds so wild. It sounds ridiculous. But every time I see, Egypt and the Giza Plateau, it reminds me of that because it's just so wild. So watch that video, man. But yeah, kind of getting off topic here, but it's just wild. So figure one is the optical image of, so it's like other people have had crazy shit, lots of mystery around the Great Pyramids. Figure two is Khufu diagram, known as the interior structures, east side schematic view. See here. Present the SAR image of figure 3B. I think this is 3B right here. And now you can start to see some of the better images. Okay, so figure two is the Khufu diagram of the interior structures. In this work, the technique is used to perform sonic imaging by processing a single SAR image. Now you can see the moving target, SAR acquisition geometry, SAR image magnitude. Look at that. That's fucking wild, dude. 3D tomographic magnitude, time domain vibrations in magnitude, time domain vibrations in the range direction, vibrations observed along the tomographic view direction embedded in the multi-chromatic Doppler diversity are focused along the height or depth dimension, developing metric resolution tomographic underground imaging. The SAR synthesizes electromagnetic image through a side-looking acquisition according to the observation geometry shown in figure 3A. So it's a side-looking image basically with this one. Doppler subaperture model. In this one, we experiment a strategy that employs Doppler subaperture, which are generated to measure target motion. And I'm not going through all this shit here. We're just going to get to the exciting stuff. Vibrational scan of the Earth is achieved, and it's showing you from the satellite orbit here and the energy coming down. This is very wordy. You can see the single SAR image, bandpass filter, master pass, bandpass filter slave, tomographic point selection, pixel tracking, acoustic focusing. And that's the process there. Jesus, this is so crazy. Interferometric SAR. This is phase, azimuth, pixel. You can see the pixel. I can't hardly tell what the fuck that is going on there. Guess it's that image. The SAR image representing the interferometric repeat pass coherence of Giza Plateau. You can see pyramid there. Jesus, guys, this is wild. And this is showing you by the numbers here what they found. So like 1, you can just look for number 1. It's right here. Eastern ascending ramp. 7, northeast underground corridor. So right here, northeast underground corridor. And you can see inside the pyramid here. So if we're like kind of like looking, pretend this, has got the walls on it. It's like you're inside the pyramid. This is the ramps going up the interior of the pyramid. And this is like the ramps going down underneath the motherfucker. Here we go. This is the pyramid. This V-shaped plot represents the tomographic line, which vibrations are calculated. So the intersection of the pyramid can be represented. It's like internal structures. It's very complex, man. This is very complex. You can see there's like the little coil shit right here. Schematic representation overlaps. This is representation of Z and the king chamber. Azimuth pixel. Very crazy. See if we can find some more right here. Tags association from tomography to a 3D model. The model of Khufu, east side orientation. These are reconstructions. Top east side orientation right here. You can see it's out of this, into a 3D model. And these are reconstructions into the 3D. So you can see right here, if you like look at it, look how it's going down underneath the pyramid. That's just wild. That's wild. And they get that out of this shit, right? Out of this, LiDAR, tomographic shit. It's a lot to pull out of that, I guess. Here's another image, and you can see both ramps, right, going underneath the pyramid. Here's another view, top view. You can see the ramps going underneath there as well. Side view here. Here's a bird's eye view. And once again, they're giving you the list of the structures detected, and they're numbering them, and they're telling you which figures that they're in throughout the document. Here's another 3D model. Is it just me, or is this like, I don't want to speak out of turn here, but is it just me, or is this like a lot to kind of like pull out of that? Is that a lot to pull out of that? How does anybody feel about this? I would love to see John has a better podcast than Joe. Well, John doesn't get the guests that Joe Rogan does. That's a fact. And if I did, that would be awesome. I would love to go on Joe Rogan's podcast, honestly. Joe Rogan, hey, have me on, bro. Please blow me up. I would love to come on your show. But I would love to know, guys, like, what do you think? Do you think it's what we're looking at is kind of like a reach? Are they like, are they kind of reaching here when it comes to this tomographic data? Or, are they like kind of like a little bit of pareidolia, like making something out of nothing? Or That would be epic. That would be so fucking epic. Yeah. So, are they making out something out of nothing, or what do you guys think here? Just so far from what you've seen from some of these images, do you believe that, it's accurate, it's legit? I mean, we're kind of seeing the same thing over and over and over, and it's like there's not a lot of fucking detail in their little heat images here. I'm just keeping it real. I'm not trying to, entrance to the new corridor, and like, see, now you can actually see. Okay, so this is a little different right here. Entrance to new corridor. This is an actual image right here showing you, and then here is the tomographic imaging of the new corridor. Very different looking, but you can still see it, right? I guess you can see like where there's surface here, where it's behind that rock. That is wild, dude. That is wild. I just really want to know what you guys think here. If you think this is bullshit, you think it's legit, like what the fuck do you guys think? Yeah, I would love to know, honestly. I feel like I'm just kind of like hollering out in space. What do we have here? The measurements of the detected facilities of the pyramid, the numbers shown after the comma. All right, hold on. I know there's some better pictures in this, so let me see what I got. This is going to give us a little bit more up close and personal here. See, so here is a bunch of images from it as well, right? Different images of the pyramid. And you can see right there underneath it, like that's supposedly like what it would be looking like underneath, right? That deep. So just to kind of give you an idea, right here, hidden depths of discovery, right there. Here's another image. And I'm going to show you like some of the other, shit that's floating out there where people are disagreeing and everything. So we're going to look at a few different things. I'm not done yet by any means. But see, this is what I'm saying. Are they this tomographic data, and this is up close. I know it's probably a little blurry because it's so big, and the resolution's not that good on the image. It's meant to be small. But you see A and B here, like looking at B, image B. Sorry, guys. My contacts are fucked. Looking at image B, do you see the resemblance here, or do you feel like they're kind of like pulling something out of this that may not even actually be there? That's really irking me right now, guys. Honestly, I'm not gonna lie. It's really
this may be the most important news of our lifetime. What you're looking at are leaked.
And this guy drops a bomb on it, which we'll show that here in a moment. But let's go ahead and move forward here into some other shit. Where's some of the other ones? Where's some of the other ones? Okay. I believe that here we go. I can give this to you guys in the chat so you can go check this stuff out on your own time as well. Okay, so let's see some of the comments here. I'm guessing dudes can read the image where it just looks like gobbledygook to us, like MRIs or CAT scans, right? That's a good observation there, Kimberly. I would go with that. I would say, if you're like trained professional and actually reading these type of images, then you probably do see something that we don't see. Yeah, I can go for that. Like remotely, it seems like they're guessing a lot based off of their heat signature scans. They're very hopeful for a big breakthrough. Yes, see, that's where I'm at. I'm really with you more than anything. Like, it's like that's a lot off of that fucking, FLIR or heat or whatever, LiDAR, whatever type of imaging that they've used right there. It's like, man, I feel like you're pulling a lot out of that damn thing, and it's like, so who knows, man? Who knows? And I think I dropped this in the chat for you guys. And if you're in the chat, please hit the thumbs up and hit the like. It does help me by bringing more people into the chat and shit like that. So let's see here. Where's the peer review one? I think this is just the document. Yeah, this is the document here. So you guys got that now. Where am I at with this one? Right here. I think it is. There we go. So I've got 2 of these on occultum. So let's check them out. Egypt discovery 2 kilometers below Khafre Pyramid shows transformer-like electrical columns. And this is the Khafre project. It's showing it, the full document. If you guys are going to go here too, you can get the full document. See, it looks quite a bit different here too. You got more. So let's pull up some of these images here. Here we go. You can see, like, boom. Same thing, obviously, showing you the different levels, side views, all of that. Here are the coils. The 8 cylindrical structures identified in the tomographic images appear as vertical wells, hollow inside, surrounded by descending spiral pathways. The next phase involves analyzing tomographic data to determine the full extent of the underground structures beneath the Giza plateau. The tomographic images clearly reveal the structures exists beneath the plateau, extending below the pyramids of Khafre, Khufu, and Minkarinos. So there's your little coils as observed in a 3D model below the ground level, ground zero of the main structure. Vertically aligned cylindrical structures extend for hundreds of meters beneath the Giza plateau. Notably, of these structures arranged in 2 parallel rows from north to south, descended to a depth of 648 meters, merging into 2 large cubic structures measuring approximately 80 meters. That's fucking crazy. That's so damn deep, and you can see, like, how deep that appears to go, like by the images, like on water or something, you know. And the above structure, same shape, the so-called Z structure found in the pyramid of the Khufu above the ceiling of the so-called pharaoh or king's chamber. The 5 Zs appear to be connected by geometric pathways along these structures. Additional secondary structures are visible from various satellite angles, as shown in some of the tomographic images below. The analysis of these data obtained using entirely non-invasive techniques are briefly summarized below. The findings allowed us to construct a 3D model of the entire complex. The examination of dozens of tomographic images obtained from different angles using Capella space and Umbra radars enabled the 3D reconstruction of most of the objects inside the pyramid of Khafre. Below, we present some images from our 3D analysis. And you can see there. And there's another improvement of the signal to noise ratio, the internal structure of the 5 Zs. Right? It's just, to me, it's kind of a reach. It really is. And the nature of the structures we have identified. And then you can see this. I can go with this right here, like the coils and shit. Those look like fucking coils. I can go with that. You know, but some of this other shit, not so much. Here's a panoramic of the south-north view of the Giza Plateau with the tomographic line cutting through the Khafre structure at approximately half of its height. The darker central line corresponds to the edges of the pyramid, northeast and southwest, which have low vibrational content and therefore appear darker. The various bright spots beneath the pyramid represent artificial structures located approximately 2 kilometers below the pyramid plateau. And that's just fucking nuts, you know. So did I give you guys the link to this one? If I didn't, I'm going to drop it in here for you. Anyways, reminds you of Tesla coils. It does me too. And keep in mind, that Nikola Tesla, you know, he actually he was studying the Great Pyramids. You know, he believed that there was something going on with that shit, you know, that they were actually, you know, harnessing some type of free energy, or, you know, and keep in mind,
3D model.
keep in mind, they were literally Tesla. He was, he thought that the pyramids were, some type of, something used for the manifestation of energy, and they look like Tesla coils that are going underneath that. His ass was shut down, for trying to do that by the government. Donald Trump's uncle or whatever, John Trump, ended up getting a hold of that data before the CIA and all of that. So, and here's the peer review record right here. So when they say it's not been peer reviewed, it looks like 3 people review 1 report. And let's hear some of the peer reviews while we're at it, just to kind of see what people are saying. The work describes an imaging method based on the analysis of micro movements on the internal structure of Khufu Pyramid using SAR Doppler tomography. The paper is interesting in detail, but in my opinion, a bit dispersive, and validation of the results is missing. Major comments. At the beginning, the purpose of your work is not well explained. What is new compared to literature? What are you demonstrating? Is it better to write it clearly in the introduction? SAR interferometry, the phase differences between 2 different sensor positions, are used to estimate the terrain topography in this paper. The successful experimental realization of polarimetric airborne SAR tomography is demonstrated for the first time in 64. I think you should rewrite this sentence, and it is not clear if you are still presenting the state of the art, what you are proposing in your paper. Moreover, T should be in lowercase. What I expect to find in the methodology section, at least a scheme of what you do, or what you developed, and which are the steps that conducted you to the results. Please organize better this section, also adding a flow chart. Section 5 begins by saying that you performed an INSAR procedure to analyze the fringes. This was never described in detail in the methodological section. You say at page 6, we processed several SAR images observed in the vertical polarization, and the estimated allows us to visualize the principal internal components present in the pyramid. How many images, which sensor you have used, Sentinel, Cosmos, SkyMed. You write these information in the line results, but it is better to put and expand them before the methodology. Have you pre-processed the images? How was the interferometric process performed? These information would help other scientists replicating your experimentation. The conclusions are poor and weak, especially from the point of view of the validation. Wow. So they're trashing this shit, basically. Minor comments. In the abstract, the results obtained proved to be very promising, and the obtained results proved to be very promising. Page 5, the second red line, when should be lowercase. They're hidden their grammar. Like, they're literally like, your grammar's dog shit. The propriety depends on the used wavelength, which is usually poor. Typing error, which section 1.3 state to the title. I would expect to read information about SAR, what it is, the typology of the available products, and so on. Instead, I mostly read how SAR is been used in literature for archaeological sites, so maybe it is better to change the section title or incorporate it into section 1.2. Figure 2, I'd add the description of each number also in the caption. So this is like some spell check shit. Figure 4, 5, and 6 represent the time domain, displacement, and magnitude range and azimuth respectively. In the blue plot is the unfiltered temporal displacement trend, while the red function represents the positive envelope. The blue plot should have a capital letter. So this is stupid. Some of these, I mean, they are slamming them. It's like, I don't care if they put the or they or what the fuck ever. And you can actually download these peer reviews. And I'm going to actually drop this in the chat for you as well. You guys want to go behind me on all of this shit and actually check it out and, see for yourself. I strongly encourage you to do so. Some of these guys are fucking pricks, man. Here we go. Here's a positive one. And see, you can download the PDFs right here. See, this is very well done. The equations put me off a little, and I have no idea what to make of those, but the modeling was super. Good job. Thank you very much for your quotation. So was that the dude who created it? Is that why it says sincerely Philip Bondi and Malenga? I hope not. The proposed article is undoubtedly ambitious because it proposes an analysis of the internal structure of the Pyramid of Giza by means of satellite SAR tomography using a new method based on vibrations, phonons, instead of photon information. The authors demonstrate with appropriate calculations the goodness of the method. The signal processing system has in fact even been presented for patenting in recent months. The method is also well described from math's point of view. Of course, the validity of the method can only be verified in reality with targeted excavations which appear difficult to carry out, or better, by using appropriate geophysical methods. In fact, the general description, the authors do not indicate the dimensions of the pyramid and the king and queen's chamber, just as they do not indicate the dimensions of the blocks that cover the ground terrain. These blocks are the objects responsible for the detectable vibrations, and it's difficult to think that there aren't terrestrial methods capable of describing, even quantitatively, the internal parts enclosed by the surface. Yeah, so I mean, I'm not gonna read all these, but damn, you know, they're going hard on some of this. We've seen one fucking, nice review, one nice comment out of all of these so far. So. How about that? Yeah. Right. And you can see everybody's talking about it too. Everybody's talking about it. And here you go. Scientists said they discovered vast city underneath Egypt's Giza pyramids, but experts raise concern. And they discovered a mysterious form of energy in Egypt's pyramids as well. And where am I going to pull it up here? They discovered a mysterious form of energy in Egypt's pyramids that should only exist in modern times. They discover a 4,600-year-old structure with electromagnetic waves, a form of radiation that travels through the universe, finding it focus and amplify the energy into specific chambers and around the base. New discovery suggests the structure was not just a pharaoh's final resting place, but also a giant power plant. Electromagnetic waves are used in such research because interacts with matter in unique ways, allowing dynamics. The waves built up at a finished chamber beneath the structure. Scientists can have been a gigantic resonator that was designed to trap electromagnetic waves. Retired aerospace engineer Christopher Dunn, who's analyzing the pyramid, recently shared that research like this suggests there was a greater purpose behind the building the structure. Speaking on the Joe Rogan Experience, Dunn said the northern shaft of the pyramid has an appearance similar to a tube-like structure used to transmit microwaves and electromagnetic energy. As for the purpose of turning this structure into a giant clean energy power, scientists of the study said it's still a mystery. But the Egyptians may have been much more advanced than anyone thought. And I'm sure they were. I mean, how many people have seen some of the depictions on the walls of what appears to be light bulbs and, Baghdad batteries and all kinds of shit? I mean, there's way more to this than people, could ever imagine. I don't think there's any part of the pyramid that did not serve a practical function, Dunn told Rogan. Dunn spent 30 years conducting computer analysis of the pyramids, landing in the theory that the ancient Egyptian builders had access to highly refined tools, modern construction techniques, and even mega machines, despite there being no archaeological record of their use. The 2018 study conducted the researchers from ITMO University in Russia focused on the response of the pyramid to waves with wavelengths between 656 and 1,968 feet, a range commonly associated with radio frequencies. Researchers modeled the pyramid as if it were an enormous environment, meaning they ignored external factors like the Earth's atmosphere or the surrounding landscape. And then they examined how the pyramid interacted with incoming waves. They also conducted their electromagnetic experiments under a more realistic condition in which the pyramid was sitting on top of a limestone surface, similar to its actual location on the Giza Plateau. The results revealed that the internal structure of the pyramid, including its 3 chambers, can gather and focus electromagnetic energy received from these waves. And their theoretical models, when the waves at these specific frequencies interacted with the pyramid, they excited what scientists called multipole resonances. There are patterns of electromagnetic activity that depend on the shape and material of the object and they're colliding with. The study, and let's see if we can show this here.
You have a very fascinating hypothesis as to what the pyramid, or theory as to what the pyramid actually was. And it's based on where the supposed king's chamber is, where those passages go through into it. And what do you think that thing was?
Well, my first book pretty much describes what I thought it was in 1998, which was a power plant. The book is entitled The Giza Power Plant. My second book has evolved, and I describe it as an electron harvester. So, you know, it's kind of like, you could describe it as both, but and today, when you do, or you know, people in any decade, they think of a power plant and they see these huge chimneys with you know, smokestacks
or a nuke plant.
Yeah, or a new plant. You know, oh, a power plant, dirty, nasty, unclean. But an electron harvester, clean, pollution free, not a problem.
Has that been achieved conventionally? I mean, today, is there a thing called an electron harvester?
I think that actually, when you look at a generator, that's an electron harvester, because we don't create electrons, we just harvest them.
Interesting.
This is healthcare as it should be: affordable, convenient, and customized to you. Through HIMS, you can get access to doctor-trusted treatments for hair loss, ED, and
yeah. So you heard that here. Electron harvester, and then, you know, kind of like think of these fucking images that we've seen, you know, with the coils and all of this. Very interesting. It says a study showed the King's Chamber, located near the center of the Great Pyramid, concentrated electromagnetic energy more effectively than the other chambers. In the more realistic scenario, where the pyramid sits on limestone substrate, the electromagnetic energy focused underneath the structure suggested that the base of the pyramid could have played a critical role in distributing energy. Dunn claimed the Queen's Chamber was a reaction chamber where the hydrogen was produced. The hydrogen filled the interior spaces of the Great Pyramid, which included the King's Chamber, he told Rogan. And as for what the pyramid was collecting and what it was gathering it for, Dunn noted the Earth is constantly bombarded by microwaves, possibly from atomic hydrogen, dating all the way back to the Big Bang itself. And these are like the tests showing it right here, that the base of the Great Pyramid could have played the major role. And this is it being hit with electromagnetic waves and how it's absorbing it. And you can see the intensity, red, right? Interesting. Interestingly, the Ancient Egyptians would not have been able to pour hydrogen atoms. Yeah, I love how they act like they know what they would or wouldn't been able to do. Hydrogen atoms into the pyramids. So Dunn theorizes they would have used two separate chemicals poured down the shafts into the queen's chamber, which mix and then boil off hydrogen particles, triggering the energy resonance. As for what those chemicals would have been and how the ancient Egyptians would have known how to do all this is still unclear. Meanwhile, the Russian researchers believe there are some real world practical applications that may come from their discovery in Giza using what they learned from the Great Pyramid. The ITMO team said their next goal was to design their own nanoparticles that could recreate the same effects in the radio frequency range. Those tiny particles, in theory, could help develop new sensors and highly effective solar cells. So, they're just like everything we've seen, like the Vimanas that have like the shapes that are stealth bombers and shit. Our radars actually mimic, right, that frequency. We steal technology literally from the ancient past over and over and over. And I know that the governments of the world, the powers that be, they know what's going on, um, what these megalithic structures actually were, and I believe they know what their real purpose was and everything, that they hide it from us, they cover it up, right? And that's why it's so important to keep that narrative going and to propagate the bullshit the way that they do, because they don't want us, knowing how easy it is to generate free energy. Or, just like if you look at like the Tartarian Empire and shit like that, the world fairs and how all across the world these amazing cities had these crazy fires after a certain in the 1800s 1900s, destroying all of these beautiful architecture that they had within the cities that couldn't be replicated today. These world fairs where they would go in and these amazing architecture that, then it would be torn down, and they'd act like they put the shit up in just 2 weeks and shit. It's just, or paper mache. Basically, it's fucking bullshit and it's stupid, but people still believe it, and it was part of a reset, I believe, where they were resetting things in this era. This is before the industrial revolution, and these late 1800s, early 1900s. The roaring 20s were after the educational system was changed. 1920 was when they stopped recognizing the aether. So it's like we really have seen a very hard reset. And they had the Cabbage Patch Kids, right, where they were putting massive kids in incubators, and they have orphan trains and all kinds of shit. There was some type of reset, and it even looked like they were growing children and to repopulate the earth. World War I, World War II, these resets that we've had, and COVID-19, this new great reset. And every time history is destroyed, the narrative is changed, and each time we forget a little bit more. You wonder why. If you look back at historical accounts, right? History, it always goes to the victor, right? Because it's his story, so it's the story of the ones who won, not the actual story. You even think about religious wise, Christianity, right? They fucking killed all the Gnostics, right? Jesus was probably more akin to a Gnostic, right? Seriously. And like those were considered like the true Christians, like Gnostic Christians, And what did they do? They smoked all of them, and they used like the fringe theories and shit like that, and created the religions like they're doing with the UFO shit now. Like the genuine knowledge and information about that, gets swept under the rug and hidden, and they put out the bullshit propaganda, all these fuckheads, channeling information and saying the Pleiadians are coming to save all of us and all that goofy shit, showing images and pictures of shit our own government has created, there's no telling. Like a lot of these crafts that are cloaked and shit like that, and triangle crafts are probably some type of technology that they use cloaked in the sky to send and emit frequencies down at us. Who knows? Maybe even to direct energy to kill dissidents. Who knows? We have no clue. We're lied to so much. And the chemtrails and all of it. It's like we have no idea, about our reality, about what's taking place, and all this disclosure now. It's nothing but nonsense and bullshit. I would love to. What's his name? He's a real famous guy. He acts like he's the basically the face of disclosure, Greer guy or whatever. I would love to have him on and have a talk with him, and because I feel like he's a he's got a lot of interesting things to say, but I don't know if it's I feel like he talks over people's head a lot and says government clearance this and government clearance that to act like he's like the official mouthpiece, for UFO disclosure. And if you think about a lot of that, it's just all bullshit. Same thing with all of this stuff, they hide all the truth, and put out all the bullshit distractions, and people want shit that's sensationalized. They don't want real shit. They get bored, by real learning, right? Long form podcast, like not a lot of people have the attention span to hang with that. And a long form podcast, like something like this, where we're actually like reading abstracts and documents and shit like that, like most people just cannot handle that. They need, the theatrics and the excitement in order to hold their attention span. They need entertainment. They're not in it to learn, they're in it to be entertained. So what's more entertaining? Me telling you that interdimensional entities are what actually exists as far as extraterrestrials, and they're probably sitting right here with you and me, and because we have such a thin sliver of what we can see within the electromagnetic light spectrum, like they could exist in another dimension, be right here, but it's just the dimensions we can't see. They could be walking right around us, walking through us, everything, outside of time. And they've created this construct for us to be imprisoned in with our consciousness, or telling you there's some amazing fleet of aliens and, you all came from these different star systems and they're sending messages to you to help human consciousness expand, and they're going to land one day and they're going to save all of us, and we're going to unite with them hand in hand into this new utopia. Which one sounds more interesting? Same thing with religion. It's not very interesting to say that, Christ is all of us. It's an allegory for us being the Son of God, the children of the Most High, and that Christ means the anointing. It's a conscious state, that sacred secretion, that Christos, and us in that highest state of consciousness obtainable within this physical. That's not very interesting, as opposed to, there being an actual guy named Jesus. I'm not saying there's not, but I'm saying him coming back, riding on a white horse with a fiery sword, whooping ass for everybody who ever wronged us, and taking out the cabal and the evil, systems of the world, and beating Satan's ass in front of us. Like, that sounds way cooler and way more interesting. Or, some type of rapture where we're all sucked up in the sky, and, all the bad people that screwed us over are left behind. It's like, which is more interesting? You know, which sounds better, which sounds more fun, which is more entertaining, you know, if you think about it, honestly. You know, we're talking about magic or something. It's like, oh, well, you know, it'd be way more interesting if, you know, you use blood and this and that to, you know, create this spell or ritual than saying that, well, you can manifest anything you want, you know, by focusing your thoughts and all of that. It's just, you know, people want sensationalism. You know, they want things sensationalized. It's what they want. See, we have the use of quantum sensors at megalithic sites. The quantum, that pesky stuff hiding subatomically, our world is made up of matter. That matter is made up of atoms. And if we were to grab our tape measure, the quantum space deals with matter smaller than what is between the lines, smaller than the atom, that is smaller than an organ, smaller than a cell, smaller than an organette, smaller than a protein, smaller than, well, you get the picture. It's pretty damn small. So small, in fact, that we are only just now in the mighty 21st century able to get a sneak peek at what is going on down there. The picture, however, is still pretty blurry. Brush aside all those smaller thans and we get back to where we need to be. Subatomic particles, from the elementary electron to the nuclei-bound neutron, from the positively heavy proton to the infinite smallness of the building blocks of quarks and gluons. And are all, as you may expect, very difficult to see. And here is a wave pattern generated by visible light and the gaps between, right? You can see that. And you know what? Speaking of like these particles and shit, like the Higgs boson, which they call the God particle. I was actually watching this thing showing like that's not even the God particle either. Like there's certain parts of matter and physics where it's missing that Higgs boson. So it wouldn't be the God particle. It's not the essence of everything either. So they bullshit us with everything around every turn. Quantum physics is a system of thinking about and exploring these incomprehensible yet fundamental processes of reality. One branch of science designed to do just that. When Plato envisioned his Platonic forms, he was brushing up against our most fundamental reality. Over 2,000 years later, we're only just developing the observational tools necessary to see these forms, subatomic structures. The ancient sage philosophers seem to have always known were around us, and it's because they had technology, you know, far more advanced. Think about the Greek language and how much more technical, the phonetics and just all of it. It's like so much more advanced than the English language. It's not funny. Probably the most advanced language we know in modern time. Shit. You know, Hebrew and shit, I think has like, at least ancient Hebrew had like 800 words or something, like 800 variations. It was very small language. Arabic, very small language. You know, all of these other languages very small. The English language is made up as an amalgamation of basically all the other languages. Like they use bits and pieces from all the different languages. But Greek, you know, the vocabulary of the Greek, it was like fucking pure art. The way that they wrote, they were writing, and the way that they spoke. Right? They like truly understood phonetics and language. The interesting point is worth stressing. How did the ancient minds know there was something in this space without any viable means of observing it? From the Platonic school of thought to Newton's infamous falling apple moment, our species appears to have sat back and wondered about forces originating from the quantum level for millennia. But where did these ideas come from? How did they manifest? This type of work is characterized by a myriad of questions with scant solutions. In postmodernity, the trickle-down effect has led to the buzzing of phrases like quantum computing or quantum entanglement into the mainstream zeitgeist of cultural memification. The fact that these are buzzwords to most of us points to the space that we inhabit, a collective we are still in that exciting yet frustrating phase of knowing something exists, but not having the ability to understand it at the necessarily deep level. Our tools have yet to catch up with our imaginations, but we're close, very close. Uh, After speculating the frequencies produced at megalithic sites across our planet that may have allowed our ancestors to access parts of their consciousness that remain even today beyond our complete comprehension. Based on the work of late Dr. Treffert, I focus on the concept of latent but possibly accessible genetic memories. Could this have acted as a mechanism to contact those that came before, to feel what they felt, to see what they saw, a means of extracting wisdom from members of our species long since past? Whatever form this takes, whether it's tapping into the Jungian collective unconscious or Teilhard de Chardin or Verdansky's new sphere, a naturally occurring information network, or Dr. Whitley's universal earth language, I speculate that in some way ancient megalithic sites help accomplish this. And I think they do too. Think about it. These megalithic sites have pictograms, pictographs, symbols all over them. And remember, a symbol is the embodiment of an energetic frequency. So when your eyes make a connection, when they connect by seeing, visualizing, that visual connection with that energetic frequency, right? You see that symbol, you perceive that symbol. And remember, your brain interprets what it sees, as electrical impulses, and those frequencies are then interpreted by your brain and it sees it as an image. So if these symbols embody an entire idea or are mechanisms to trigger the unconscious, right? And these vimanas and pyramids and all of this are designed like, the vimanas with the radar, and, the sound and frequency, amplification. And some of them even represent or look like the masks for quantum computers and shit as well, which we'll get into in just a moment. And whether they're step pyramids or whatever, these four-sided pyramids, and how they are perfect conductors of magnetism and ferrofluid, right? Like, so they are harnessing electromagnetic energy, right? They're giant energetic, and they're on these ley lines or the earth grid, right? To kind of manipulate or harness the natural flow of energy, conscious energy, earth energy, and covered or tattooed in all of these ancient symbols and stories, our story. And there's nothing new under the sun. That's why, astrologically, it's all archetypes of the planets and, planetary spheres, celestial spheres in the heavens. That's all astrology is going through each celestial sphere, and it has an archetype and, a story that goes with it. And like mythology, that's what mythology is. These ancient mythos aren't just fucking bullshit stories, right? They're speaking to the subconscious. These stories are ways of passing down knowledge, and understanding things far better. Like, the Greeks, they were telling the same mythologies, all across the world. Similar or the same mythologies, Romans, Greeks, Egyptians, Sumerians, right? They all have similar writings, similar gods, similar deities, similar explanations, and they all had numbers that represented shit too. Like Enki's number was 40, so on and so forth, because there's a numerical code to the matrix as well, right? There's numerical code. These pictograms, these symbols are energetic representations or frequencies. The words are frequencies, right? Whether they're sound vibrations, right, when we speak them, or we write it out in letters, they're characters, which are pieces of symbols, as well. So it's like we have our entire reality kind of can be deciphered within this. And it was all kind of like written down on these massive monuments that conduct energy. The stone was used to conduct energy and shaped in a way to conduct energy to stand the test of time. That way, either passed down by the gods, right? which, I say gods loosely, these, the ones who genetically altered us, Anunnaki, Elohim, whatever, right? Fallen angels, who fucking knows, right? Um, and before, the evil wind and nuclear destruction, or, the great flood, or the fucking destroyer, all these different cataclysms, maybe they left this behind, for us, for knowledge into the future when we were able to comprehend and understand it. Or, humanity at a far higher level of consciousness knew that there were destructions or cataclysms coming at the end of, certain cycles, because we've been through multiple cycles, whether it was, the deluge and the great flood, or, Sodom and Gomorrah, and, fire raining from the fucking sky, which would be like the time of the destroyer as well. Planet Nibiru, or some type of comet or asteroid, who knows? The Younger Dryas, like all these different, ages, and them ending in cataclysms. And each time that they ended, the sun going into solar maximum, and, when it goes into this maximum, it gives off a large amount of cosmic rays and radiation, right? And that radiation mutates DNA, right? Which alters us and changes us for the next cycle. We're, literally being mutated. But those rays and all of that is information. It's cosmic information. So not only does it increase our brain activity, increases our lifespans, how long we live, how intelligent we are, how active we are, all of it. The sun affects us that deeply, and the entirety of the earth. We're also being altered and changed, these cycles, who knows, maybe just happens at once, and we shift into a higher dimension or a lower dimension based on what, the sun, like this giant fucking, projector, or, LED light, whatever, beaming down this frequency. And once we've been, altered enough genetically, and our brain has been rewired to the new frequency, we shift. And maybe that's why it's so important this time around for the elites and, the powers that be. They know that this is happening again as we end the Piscean age, going into this Aquarian age. They know there's some type of, maybe solar flare event coming, some flash event, some amazing electromagnetic event, comet, asteroid, flood, who fucking knows, right? There's no telling, honestly. And that it's happening again. And not only is knowledge increasing because of cosmic information, but, and you can see all things are being revealed. And this is what the Bible says, right? That's how you know it's the last days. Like, all things are being revealed. And it's like we're finding all of this shit out about underneath the Great Pyramid. And, it's all like coming to the surface. We're learning about it all. We're learning the history of everything. All the fucking pedophilia and all that shit's being exposed. Money laundering of U.S. aid, like allegedly, all of it. It's all coming out. All things are being revealed. Everything done in the dark is being brought to the light. And knowledge is absolutely increasing. We all have knowledge at our fingertips. And we're also, just like it said, we would be like the evilest we've ever been too, right? We're godless, completely godless as a species, without morals, without any moral compass. We're just, we're selfish, we're violent, we're angry, we'll watch our brother and sister starve. We have no kindness or giving in our heart anymore. But maybe these were like something like Noah's Ark. These type of pyramids and structures were like an ark of some sort. These massive monuments, made out of specific types of stones and minerals on energy, lines, earth ley lines, specific points all over the planet into specific polygons and shapes, designed to be conduits of energy in a specific way. And not just that, but having these symbols written all on the insides and outsides of them, and they're also in alignment with stars and, parts of the earth and everything. So it's just very interesting to see, like, maybe the ancients were us and they were trying to save us for the future, leave behind knowledge because we keep getting destroyed, forgetting our history. And maybe it's intentional, like these resets, like I was talking earlier with the Cabbage Patch Kids and the incubators and the world fairs and all the Tartarian shit. Maybe it's intentional, them creating these resets to make us forget. That's why we have no idea who built the pyramids, no idea, right? Who built all these ancient sites all across the earth. It could be us, or we think it's the gods or aliens. We have no clue, right? Because we keep getting erased. And if we are enslaved, it seems like every time we reach the end of an age and get into a high state of consciousness and things are revealed, they reset us by destroying us. So thinning us down, culling us. A little is confidently known about these enigmatic sites, as is known about quantum space. The difference, almost all we are told about the ancient world is cut and dried from subjective projections of people who, for one reason or another, have an agenda, often fueled by the power of dogma. At the very most, we get the admittance, mainly because it's simply so hard to ignore. These sites are aligned cosmologically. Very little work is done on the significance of their geographical location, the significance of the size and shape of the structures themselves, the significance of the type of organic materials used in their construction, and the significance of the foundation myths that predicate the sites themselves, in which I just mentioned all of that, right? Because it's important. Both ancient sites and quantum space stretch back to times as mysterious as they are magical. While separated by billions of years, these branching timelines of history no doubt bore witness to their fair share of funk. But why is the funk of the quantum celebrated, whereas the funk of the ancient sites touted as woo-woo? As a fan of the global funk Spotify genre, that funk is exactly what I'm looking for, and I believe all funk should be treated equally. And that is the Pyramid of the Sun, Tehuacan, Mexico. You can see how just crazy that is. And that is Chichen Itza Pyramid, and that's in Yucatan, Mexico. Just as the mechanisms emanating from the quantum have a very fundamental purpose, so too do those underlying currents that are undeniably present at ancient megalithic sites, whether it be the symbolically grand pyramids of Egypt, the innumerable jungle reclaimed sites dotted around the Americas and the Amazonas, including the many sites I recently visited on the Yucatan Peninsula of Mexico, megalithic works far flung throughout all corners of Europe, Eurasia, Russia, out across the Indian subcontinent, Sri Lanka, and Asia. Many, if not all these sites, these sacred precision built spaces, no doubt had a purpose. But was this purpose to raise the energetic levels of the natural environment they were built upon? Though geologically occurring substructures and crystalline pockets of crustal fault lines in the lithosphere, could the natural movements of the earth, the natural vibrations Gaia produces, be the underlying mechanism? Could the understudied piezoelectricity or enigmatic plasma play a role? Could cave systems play a role? The trouble is, all of this is conjecture and nay on an impossible to prove. That is, until now. We have a nibble, a glimmer of hope. Loosen your tie, look up at the sky, close your eyes, and take a deep breath. Let us get back to speculating. If you decide to follow me down this branch of possibility, the possibility that ancient megalithic sites were used to enhance or induce altered states of consciousness for some still unknown reason, then hear me out. The pesky, funky stuff, those processes that occur at the smallest known scale, have been around since conception of the universe. They govern what occurs at the fundamental base layer of reality. At the heart of these processes may be the biggest conundrum of all: consciousness. We know certain frequencies affect our consciousness. We use sensors of sound and electromagnetic scans of the brain to try and measure part of the process, but the overarching picture is still indeterminate. Just like our current sensors are not sensitive enough to get the deep problem of consciousness, what if our current sensors are not sufficient enough to measure what is present at these sites? What type of energy could, at this moment, be unquantifiable? We know gravity exists. If you climb to a tall building and try to fly, you will fall. We call that learning the hard way. Whilst we have had inklings about the invisible force that keeps us rooted to the earth for quite some time, have we had the ability to see gravity? No, we have not. The mechanisms that generate forces such as gravity may be coming from the quantum level, a level unseen by us. Well, unseen until recently. As the techno-digital sphere expands, it encroaches on the biophysical sphere. As the boundary between these spheres merge, interesting insights can be found by looking in the space in between. Our sensory capacities increase exponentially with more and more sensitive observational tools and the utilization of artificial intelligence. More and more of the previously unseen biological world can be discovered in this overlap. Reaches of our reality, what was once hidden, now emerge from the darkness. Quantum sensors are one such technology that is expanding our understanding of these spaces, designed and trained to quantify forces into a visible, or at least more interpretable, set of data and informational display. Soon processes like gravity will be visible. So will particle interactions, clear as day. The grinding of the smallest gears known to us.
Quantum sensors allow us to understand the world around us at an unprecedented level of detail. So, what's the real difference between a classical sensor and a quantum sensor? Both can measure different properties of the environment, light, temperature, pressure, heat, and more. But quantum sensors harness the laws of quantum mechanics to measure things that are imperceptible to more traditional sensors. And because quantum sensors depend on constants of nature, their reliability never degrades. In other words, these sensors are self-calibrating and their measurements don't drift off over time like traditional sensors do. Unlike some other pieces of quantum technology, quantum sensors have been around for decades. For example, MRI machines use quantum sensors and have been around since the 1970s. Inside one of these machines, the very atoms in your body are turned into individual quantum sensors. MRIs use magnetic fields to manipulate a quantum property called spin within your body's atoms. And the response of those spins to the magnetic fields can be measured and transformed into an image. Atomic clocks are another kind of quantum sensor and have been around since the 1950s. They keep time in GPS satellites and even define the official SI unit of a second. But things have changed since then. Modern innovations are making new quantum sensors and applications possible. One of these newer technologies makes use of nitrogen vacancy centers, or NV centers, which can be found or fabricated within diamonds. Pure diamond consists of a perfect lattice of carbon atoms. If two of those adjacent carbons are removed and one is replaced with a nitrogen atom, then the nitrogen, together with the hole or vacant spot, function as an incredibly sensitive magnetometer. That magnetometer uses electron spin to detect tiny changes in magnetic fields. In fact, NV centers are sensitive enough to detect changes that are 50 million times smaller than the strength of Earth's magnetic field. And even more impressive is that they can accurately detect those tiny changes despite the presence of the Earth's magnetic field in the background. But what does that really mean? Well, to put it in the context of a camera lens, that'd be like having a single lens that would let you stand in one place and zoom out wide enough to capture all of Mount Everest in a single image, and also zoom in close enough to clearly see a single human hair at the top of the mountain.
Damn.
That kind of sensitivity can be used in medical devices to help diagnose disease earlier, and it can be used to navigate by sensing the Earth's magnetic field while flying in an airplane, driving a car or ship, and even while underwater and underground. And these same quantum sensors can be used to measure the tiniest magnetic fields within living cells, which can accelerate drug discovery. NV centers are just one example of this new generation of quantum sensors. Others are in various stages of development and can be used to detect minute changes in properties like acceleration, rotation, pressure, electric fields, temperature, and even gravity. There are many applications of this next generation of quantum sensors, with creative engineers regularly developing new ways to use them. So, what does this mean for you? Whether you're an engineer interested in quantum, a product developer looking for a better sensor, a user of high technology, or a student looking for inspiration for what to study next, you'll want to be sure to keep an eye out on the future of quantum sensing.
Interesting. And anybody in the chat too, like someone said that I had an echo, so I don't know if you guys can hear the echo. I couldn't hear it when I just played it on something. So but quantum sensors designed to measure cosmic rays produce subatomic particles called muons were used to discover an unknown void in the Great Pyramid of Giza. Sensors designed to detect gravity may be used by future archaeologists who want to find buried relics and structures by peering deeper into the Earth's surface without actually digging first. Yeah, and see, there you go. There's the agenda right here. Quantum computer chip D-Wave 2 Vive 12 Vesuvius to be cooled close to absolute zero and used to compute problems like the traveling salesperson problem and other economic and machine learning questions. You know what? Does anybody ever wonder why the shit has to be cooled to like absolute zero? Is it because the consciousness that's using D-Wave is coming from hell? I mean, I know that sounds weird and that's super, super woo-woo and out there, but I'm just saying, like, why do they have to, and I know that that's with all computers and technology and shit. They keep them in these, massively cooled places to store them and shit like that. But I mean, D-Wave is like literally got to be like stories underground and, these huge black cubes, and kept at absolute zero. And, it makes you wonder because they tap into like, quantum dimensions and neural networks and all that. It's like, it's all that heat generated, not by the function of the machine, but because the entity inside is literally coming from hell. It's a weird thought, but So quantum derived sensing technology is being used often in an ad hoc, accidental fashion to investigate the more famous megalithic sites. The solid masses that comprise site structures and objects does not seem to be priority to those in charge of maintaining and investigating the sites to try to understand the energetic property of the sites themselves. And that is where the focus should lead next. In doing so, we might just learn what the ancients seem to intuitively already know. Maybe nothing will come out of it, but unless we make a concerted effort to incorporate new emerging technology into not only the analysis of the physical matter present at ancient megalithic sites, but also the energetic principles that we are still working to put into words, we may never get to understand the true purpose of these beautiful, highly energetic sacred sites, and that would be a great shame. Whether it be energetic forces from the ground up, from the crust of the earth itself, plasma, or the electromagnetic field, cosmological alignment events, and intertwining of the use of psychedelics with musical shamanic rituals, the adjacent possibility that our civilization may be nudged into from discovering the true uses of these magical places could be astounding. It may force us into a new paradigm, a new universal perspective, or maybe nothing. The world may keep on ticking, turning, and spinning as it's done for billions of years, but I think as a species, we owe it to those who came before us and to those who will come after us to at least give it a good old-fashioned college try. I agree. Exploring consciousness is, it's paramount, And let me just show you too, like, I got this little clip here. I posted on my Facebook. I think it's over here. Right here. Yeah, I posted this on my Facebook, which I'm getting slammed on all the time with censorship. I've literally had on Facebook, this is no fucking lie. They demonetized me. I had a video with 1.4 million views. They took it down, said something was wrong with it. And then I posted a meme. They said it was like dangerous for organizations. And I got in trouble for like 30 days. And now every day AI keeps re-hitting me with new fucking I'm in trouble over again. Like I just posted it, and this was back on January 6th. I've been hit like 12 times in a row for the same fucking meme. It's insane. Like, so I can't go live. I've been demonetized all for one post months ago, and I have no clue how to get a hold of somebody at Facebook to make it stop. They've even recognized the mistake like twice, but still keep doing it. So I want to show you guys here in this video, and you're going to see it's got a little bit of this pyramid shit at the beginning, but you're going to see there's like, it shows, just how some of this mimics, quantum computers and shit. So let's see.
You take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
Right here.
Remember.
See, right here. See the computer motherboard. And you see the Mayan pyramids and the complex of Tehuacan in Mexico. Do you see how they are like absolute fucking replicas of motherboards? How crazy is that, right? Oops.
All I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
Another one.
Follow me. Let me tell you why you're here. You're here because you know something. What you know you can't explain. But you feel it. You felt it your entire life. That there's something wrong with the world. You don't know what it is, but it's there. Like a splinter in your mind. Driving you mad.
I'd like to take a moment to share with you a solid conversation that I had with a new client. It's my hope that what I share with him is a help to you.
Okay. So I just wanted to show you guys that. Very interesting, is it not? Let me close some of these here. Some of the ones that we've already looked at. Get some more room here so I know where I'm at. I've still got some really cool videos too. And cool articles to share with you guys. We're going to go with that in a second.
3D model of the internal structure.
And we've already kind of talked about that. So let's kind of just, move forward. Here's the peer review. 1 second, guys. Let me get some of this shit closed. And see, and here is one of science and pseudoscience. This is, I'll give you the link to this. This is basically on the Caffrey project. You know, you can get the whole shit here if you're interested in it. And they go through, I mean, look at these fucking comments. It's just, you know, all these armchair fucking, you know, physicists and archaeologists thinking they fucking know, but this is meta bunk. So it's like trying to like bunk the whole thing. You guys are more than welcome to look at that if you want. I'm not going to go through it. Could be John what? Or did I miss? I missed something. Dr. Stephen Greer. Yeah, I can't really. Yeah, Dr. Stephen Greer. Like, I don't want to talk too much shit about him because, like, I want to actually get these people. I have bad eye infection, if you can't tell. I wanted to get. You know, I would love to get these people to actually like, you know, interact with me, but I doubt Dr. Stephen Greer would ever come on this channel or have me on any of his, you know. But I would, you know, it would be interesting. It would be really interesting. I would love to just hear, I would have just the most amazing questions for the guy and just really challenge him to back up a lot of what he's saying, man. He's always talking about how he's got all these witnesses and shit, but they're protected, meaning like, bro, like, so they don't exist. You know, that's like a fucking newspaper and shit saying, well, anonymous sources, you know, that means it's bullshit, is what it means, you know? And I'm not smashing on him. I'm just saying, like, you know, we need some documentation when you're talking like you're the fucking government mouthpiece when it comes to UFOs and that you're leading the disclosure shit, you know? Like, we need a little bit more. We're not just going to take your word for it, bruh. Sorry. And you know, Joe Rogan, dude, hell yeah, I love him. So if he ever let me on, that would be dream come true right there. Then I'll know I've actually made it. I've truly made it. Now we're gonna go to something a little bit different, and then we're gonna get into some of the emerald tablets and all kinds of shit. I still got so many cool things left to talk about and share. So just kind of stick with me. And like I said, please, 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 if you're watching this on the live, make sure to hit the thumbs up for me because it helps more, you know, it helps the algorithm. That way more people will join the live and shit. So, you know, helps to push it. You know, and that's a real easy way to support me right there. You ain't got to come off of no money. You just hit a thumbs up, you know, it's so simple, or share it to your social media. So this is, it's interesting and don't clown on me. I think the guy is interesting, you know, whether he's, you know, a fraud or not, I don't fucking know. I'm not going to say he is. I'm not going to say he isn't because I don't know. This would be another guy I would love to have on the channel or go on his. Jason Shirka, the guy who did the guy named Ray. You guys know what I'm talking about? What the fuck is it called? Disclosure. He's another disclosure cat. It's so much bullshit in the UFO ET disclosure community. I mean, it's all horseshit basically. But I'm not saying he's horseshit. Not saying Greer's horseshit. I'm saying I'd love to have a conversation. But he wrote a book. This is how he actually got lit and got famous, right? Basically got a start. Called the Pyramid Code, you know, and this is allegedly came from, you know, Ray, which I believe Ray is just him. Honestly, if you guys have ever seen, I'll show you real quick. Hold on. I'll show you really fast, just so you can see what I'm talking about. If you don't know who the cat is, let's pull it up. Let's pull it up. There we go. Came right up. He's on fucking Unified TV and everything, you know. I mean, all these guys, most of these big time guys, they're on Unified, Gaia, Ancient Alien, you know what I mean? They're on all that shit, which, you know, speaking of Greer, look, there he is. Let's see where it's at here. That would be interesting. The Glenn Dennis interview. See, I feel like those people. Here we go. Here's disclosure. This is part 4. I'm not sure if this is a woman that he did this with or not. Let's see. One of them's got a woman.
To say that I love this job is an understatement.
I've been on the data annotation platform for about a year.
Here we go. Now, you fucking now this. Now I'm gonna keep it real with you. It's very entertaining. Somebody hit me to this some years ago, a couple years back. And I want you to kind of keep in mind that what he is doing here. So this is like, watch this at your own risk. We're not going to watch it now. I'm just going to show you like a piece so you can get an idea of who he is before we jump into this, pyramid document or text or whatever the fuck it is. And we're not looking at the whole thing, just two parts actually, pertaining to the pyramids, and seeing what, channeled information he got. Because I just want to make this interesting and try to go from every angle. But what he's doing in these disclosures, and don't get mad at me, bro, for telling on you, but you're doing this and you know it. This is a form of hypnosis, right? What he's doing. He's doing a form of hypnosis. The way that he's speaking, he's using neuro-linguistic programming, semantics and priming in his language, right? Like, this is one of the things, like, throughout the history, I've been doing this since like 2015, and because of like being targeted, a couple of the things that I really, really know my shit in, is the occult and ancient texts and, shit like that. I'm pretty well versed in that, magic, witchcraft, pretty well versed in that as well. And mind control, I'm pretty well versed in that also. And I know it when I see it. I know it when I hear it. I know, hypnosis. I'm not talking about, that quantum healing shit, anything that can be used for healing can also be used for harming, and vice versa. And I'm not saying he's harming people, but I am saying he's speaking to your subconscious, and he's using language to lead you in specific directions and shit like that. It is in fact hypnosis, and he's telling you too why he's doing it. Most people just aren't aware enough to pick up on it. Like, you have to really, and I've spoken about this in years past, and I feel like people just never catch it when I say it. You can speak to people, and there's two yous that are talking always at the same time. So there's me that's talking, my mask, my persona, my ego is speaking right through my left brain. It's talking using language right now. And that's what the majority of you guys hear. 99.999% of you guys hear that. But there's probably 1%, of you that are in real high states of consciousness and can connect to that universal spirit. And when you're in that really high state of consciousness, you can hear yourself and other people, and you can hear that universal spirit also speaking. So you'll hear the subconscious message and the conscious message, but there's two messages at the same time. That's why Christ would say, "Verily, verily, I say unto you," right? He was speaking the same both ways. That's how a lot of witchcraft and neuro-linguistic programming, speaking, you're subverting, you're going around the left brain and going straight to the right brain, because the right brain will take commands without question, right? It's the left brain that filters everything through it. So, like, that's what hypnosis is like basically putting the left brain to sleep or subverting the left brain in order to go right to the source, So that's what he's doing through language. So I'll give you just a taste of this. And I believe this is not some fucking masked man insider, that's been, and the space program and all that bullshit. Everybody that says the space program is so full of shit, every time. I'm sorry, guys, but that's just what I believe. You don't have to agree with me at all. Don't get mad at me for saying it. Be like, I'm unsubscribing because you don't believe in the space program. Like, we should be allowed to have different opinions. But I think it's horse shit. And the whole Pleiadian shit, all that, cosmic agency, all of it. I just think it's fucking garbage and nonsense. And these people hitting you with delusions from their mind, and they're grifters, they're telling these stories and manipulating people. And of course, when they're saying it, what they're doing is they're setting up a scenario like, see, what I'm doing, I've made myself obsolete. I've made myself obsolete. When I ancient texts and shit like that, you can go read those yourself. You may find me and be like, oh, in the beginning, you may like lean on, me for certain things, like to find text you haven't read, I'll talk about, or, articles, shit you haven't seen. But at a certain point, the people who watch me don't need me. They really never did. But if they did lean on me at all in the beginning, at a certain point, they don't need me or at all anymore. They may even pass me up in knowledge and learn more than me and, shit like that, and only watch me to either like confirm whatever they're already believing, or just for entertainment, just because they like to stay sharp and just, in case they hear something new, learn something new, to go look up and research themselves. But they're not dependent upon me for, knowledge and information. It's like I have no exclusivity to it. I can't be like, I'm the only person that communicates with this entity. So you got to go through me to talk to this Pleiadian, entity from Taigeta, or you got to go through me, right, to talk to Ray here, like there's none of that shit. And anytime somebody does that to me, that's my radar goes off, like, man, there's some bullshit involved, anytime they've like they've cut you out of it, right? They've cut your intuition. They've cut your ability to learn. They've cut your ability to the source out of it. And they become the middleman, right? It's to ensure that you need them to have the information and to learn the information. And it's usually being filtered through them. And it's usually from their point of view, their perspective. And just to be honest, you're usually being brainwashed by the person. That's when it becomes like a cult. It's like, oh, only through me, So he's saying that there's this Ray guy. Nobody's ever seen him. It looks like he's filming, with the fucking green screen, and like he's both of the people, just keeping it real.
Because the name of a human being, of an entity, can change the destiny of the newborn, even though the soul decided to go on a specific path. So it can affect your destiny. It's going to affect your path in life. Other than the name, parents have no control of their children. They think they do. They have zero control. The soul decides which way to go, and the soul decides what life experience they are going to have for their own reasons and past experiences and past lives. So again, reincarnation is the recycling of the soul. You go and you come back. Now you could come back over here, or you could come back to a different planet. Most of us here on Earth, we reside between the first and third dimension.
Can you explain the different dimensions before?
Now, you see what I'm saying? Like there's actually a person there. Come on, man. Give me a fucking break.
Going into that.
The ancient Egyptians understood that they could use sound to reduce their weight.
There's nobody there.
Dimensions are levels of spirituality that we bring with us on Earth, and our mission is to evolve and elevate ourselves to a higher dimension. The highest dimension is the 10th dimension, which that's where the source resides. God resides. Call it whatever you like. And unfortunately, most humans reside in the second dimension. Now, every dimension, by the way, is divided to 10 sections. So you have 10 in the first, second, third, and so on. That means a total of 100 steps to reach the elite of the elite, which is the 10th dimension. Then once you get to the 10th dimension, that all of us strive to reach, the source has the ability to reach endless dimensions that we don't even know what to call them. Not even a number for it, according to my teachings. Once a soul here on planet Earth reaches the 5th dimension, the 10th level of the 5th dimension, which means the highest level of the 5th dimension. For example, we heard about gamma and theta. And, okay, so this is the same thing, but it's a spirit within the spirit, and it's a different way to one's spirituality and abilities. Wait, let me finish. Once a soul hits the 5th dimension,
You see that? How he like, no, wait, let me finish. Like he was literally about to be interrupted. It's just nonsense. And then let me show you. I'll give you one more bit of this, and I'm gonna hopefully we can find part one here. I want to show you a good example of them priming you with the NLP because it's just great. It's so fucking obvious, and you guys can believe what you want. Be butthurt if you want. Sorry. You know, and this is what's fucking crazy about it. See, this motherfucker's blown up over 200,000 subscribers. I'm not hating. Good for him. You know, he came up with an ingenious idea. And I mean, it's made him very successful. He's on Unified and all of that. He's doing great for himself. I'm happy for him. I want everybody to eat, you know, but the thing is, people feed into this nonsense, you know, and like, real shit, you know, real people, you know, like it's because we're so programmed to respond to the theatrics and like the fake, right? We see fake so much through television and movies and, you know, radio programs and all the big internet shit that's extremely popular. Alex Jones and shit like that. If you don't get over the top theatrics and entertainment, it's almost like it's your brain won't register it as interesting or good, right? So you'll skim right past it. Port 500 subscribers, you think they're trash, right? You think they're trash. You're like, nobody listens to them, nobody watches them. They have 500 subscribers. Like that don't mean shit. They could have just started. They could be amazing, you know, and you'd never know it. Same thing goes with like, you know, people won't collaborate with people like that too. Like you got fucking 200 subs. Try to get a guy with 10,000 to collaborate with you. He won't, right? Or she won't. You know, it's like everybody's programmed this way. It's shitty. So now let me show you part one here.
yes.
Can you elaborate on what that means, what your experience was like?
What would you like to know? Be more specific.
Let's start with TLS. Does TLS and extraterrestrial beings work together? And if so, in what way?
Now watch his hand movements and everything. See, so what he's doing when he's using his hand, right? He's doing specific hand movements to open up parts of your mind, to get you to take your focus in different directions. It's to make you subjective to what he's saying. Watch when he says transducing and shit like that. They light it up in purple, the colors and everything. It's all part of mind control and hypnosis.
Yes, they do. But people will go to their continent, if you want to call it that. Planet. Some of them call it continent. I don't know why, but they use the word continent.
And that's part of the hypnosis right there. It's neuro-linguistic programming. They're choosing specific words to tap into certain parts of the subconscious. That's why he's interjecting and exchanging words, right? Like this is to essentially break into your subconscious, and you will start associating. Your brain recognizes patterns. It will start associating different parts of your brain. That's why it's called TLS, the light system. Right, because these different parts of your system, the structure of your brain are lighting up, right? The electrical impulse is firing in your brain. It's lighting up different parts of your fucking brain, as opposed to these words that are being spoken. You'll start to associate different words with different images in your mind. It can be physical places, it can be colors, it can be shapes, it can be anything, right? But your brain will light up according to that. They're literally hacking your brain.
Rather than planet, it doesn't make a difference. The meaning is the same, and the people will come here on Earth and become part of society here through training, of course.
What would be the purpose of that so-called assimilation?
They use them for work here because they have very, very supernatural abilities. Such as, I know it's going to sound weird, but they actually create nuclear power from their hands and legs. There's something within their body that gives them this energy. It's like an eel, you know? He kills his prey by sending 600,000 volts into his brain and he kills him. That's how he kills him. So they have more than 600,000, but it's more like a nuclear power, I would say. They could be extremely dangerous at times to others.
How many extraterrestrial races, physically speaking, have you been in contact with through TLS?
Well, I don't remember. I would say about 5, 6.
We've spoken in the past and you told me about 3. And if I remember off the top of my head, it was Nashia, Sia, and Konon. Can you speak about those and maybe elaborate on the others you've come in contact with as well?
There are others that I cannot mention names. The ones I did mention to you that you just mentioned. And what can I say? In Sia, they're more human-like. They're just very tall.
And notice the names, Sia, right? Like, it's just fucking bullshit. Notice how he keeps moving his hand, right? Raising the hand as he was talking, tapping the top of his head. These are priming tools, right? They're priming you. They're associating different parts of the body, different parts of the brain with different words, different colors. This is hypnosis. This is what this is. He is mind controlling you. Sorry, Jason, bro. I mean, you seem cool, like a cool dude, you know, and we're about to read, your pyramid text here and see what you got to say about that. And I'm sure you got a lot of great information. The Jewish people, they've got a lot of depth of knowledge, right? They're incredibly intelligent, and they, especially when it comes to the religious stuff. So I'm not hating. It's just, I would tell people, when you go ahead and watch it. Watch these different parts by yourself if you have not. And now that you know, if you watched them before, tell me. I want you to write me, comment on this, and tell me if you don't pick up on this shit. So we're going to start here, the technology of the pharaohs, and then we'll look at technology of the pyramids. So the pharaohs began to take control of everything and slowly began to rule the earth. They tried to create a new spiritual world. They needed, and who knows, I've never read this entire document. Who knows what he's actually doing with his document too? For all I know, he could be putting a spell on all of us, and this could have been the precursor to what he did with the, I don't put that past him, honestly. And I believe he's definitely works with the government or something like that, Just saying. The dude was like 25 and fucking coming out and just blowing up instantly without ever doing any social media or anything. Came out of nowhere, and then doing all the hypnosis and semantics and priming and all that, NLP. So it looks like he was trained. And if you've never seen a guy, like a trained person at this, like in action, I tell you to watch Chase Hughes. Right? Chase Hughes. He's a G at it. And, watch how he talks when he's doing it. Like, he'll say things to lead you, and lead your subconscious and associate words with your subconscious. And he does this with athletes to like bring their confidence back, or he could do it to break you down too. He used to do it for the military. The pharaohs began to take control of everything and slowly began to rule the earth. They tried to create a new spiritual world. They needed to preserve, protect, and develop the tools they used for work and vehicles used for transportation for future generations. The pyramids were part of the structures used for just this purpose, which is why we see pyramids in different parts of the world. The pyramids were not built solely as tombs. They were built to protect and preserve the various tools and spaceships that the pharaohs used. The pyramids were built using physical and spiritual tools that could control and manipulate gravity. Such tools were used to lift megalithic stones and build the pyramids. The stones were carved out of different mountains using laser technology. The pharaohs brought new technology into this world that provided them with the ability and power to control human beings. The term EMF stands for electromagnetic field. Electromagnetic fields are part of the earth as well as our bodies. It was and still is a phenomenon that naturally occurs during creation. However, modern day humans have changed the various frequencies and waves into the earth by despicable, corrupt, and abhorrent technology, which has caused the large spiritual void that we have ever the largest spiritual void that we have ever experienced. The corrupt manipulation of Earth's electromagnetic field is currently causing mental and spiritual sickness and disease. The pharaohs brought with them a different form of technology called electromagnetic pulsation, or EMP, and electromagnetic laser pulsation, or EMLP. In the Fatisal language, EMP was called Megan, and EMLP was called Magia. Both of these names translate to shield in English. This technology gave them the ability to build massive pyramids. Underneath these massive structures are very large basements that house the tools and technology used to make them. So he says they're giant basements that were under them that house the tools and technology to make them. Interesting considering what we just seen with the SAR technology. Originally, there were 666,666 pyramids on the earth. Today, we have left with fewer than 100,000 pyramids of different shapes and sizes. Most of the pyramids built in the world, and isn't it interesting that he used 666 and shit like that? I'm just saying, I think this guy is not who he claims to be. I'm just saying. I think there's something very off. Let's do a show together, Jason. Let's see what it is. Most of the pyramids built in the world have been destroyed over time, not by man, but by a supreme power. In the years following the Exodus, the age of the pharaohs came to an end, and they, along with their technology, mostly disappeared from the world. There are still a smaller number of the deluded offspring of the pharaohs that are living among us today. They are recognizable by their body and skull structure as they are the remnants of the pharaohs and still have some physically distinctive features. Some of their technological devices were stolen by people unknown to me. What I do know is that the world elite have access to this technology, which possess a big threat to the entire universe if it's in the wrong hands. EMP and EMLP are technologies that can destroy a country like the United States in less than an hour without warning. I'm not sure specifically who possesses these devices, and I am also unsure if some governments have this technology. I have a feeling and believe that outside of the world elite, Israel, Russia, both possess this technology. I do not think that the US has it just yet. TLS has similar devices that I saw through my work with them over the last 10 years. EMP is capable of neutralizing atomic military systems. EMLP is able to disintegrate entire cities in seconds. This technology can build or destroy anything based on the intention of its operator. To my knowledge, No one has found the hidden basements under the pyramids just yet. They have now. But I am sure they are still there. Some of the machinery and equipment that is stored in those basements include aircrafts, spaceships. We didn't see that. There are huge energetic tools that need to be recharged by the sun every 1,000 years in order to function. We didn't see that. There are no batteries. These machines work primarily through the use of the sun along with magnets. Even the magical staff that we read about in ancient books works with the same energy. These staffs can change the Earth's gravitational pull with respect to a specific object at any given moment. These staffs even have the ability to provide a person with the power and ability to shapeshift. And I'm not exactly sure which staffs he's referring to, but a lot of times staffs in the esoteric or the occult represent kingship, right? Like sovereignty. Like when you have the staff, it means like, either like a shepherd, to lead like a spiritual leader, or a king, right? Which king is a sovereign being and has dominion, because of that staff representing kingship, royalty, dominion, power, um, over the spiritual, physical mastery. But it also can represent the spine as well. Whoops. Hold on, guys. I don't know what the fuck this is. But it can also, hopefully, where'd my shit go here? It can also represent the spine as well, like with the caduceus and the kundalini and all of that. So it has multiple, like when you see it with Hermes and shit like that. But in the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, the Atlantean Priest King, Thoth pulls out his staff, right, when he sees the ancient barbarian race, right, which is supposedly or allegedly humans, right? And with his magic science, right, he freezes all of them with his staff, right? So we'll look at some of the Emerald Tablets after this. So the magical staff that we read about in ancient books works with the same energy. These staffs change the Earth's gravitational pull with respect to, and is it the rod of God? Also, that's another thing to kind of consider, the rod of God. With respect to a specific object at any given moment, these staffs even have the ability to provide a person with the power and ability to shapeshift as long as that person was born with the proper genetics in order to do so, which is interesting too, right? I want you to kind of think about this from an esoteric point of view. And this is what I mean when we talk about speaking at the subconscious level. And those who are initiated are speaking in a different language than what the uninitiated are speaking in. It's a coded language, one where you can hear, like I said, that universal spirit as well as the subconscious and the conscious mind are speaking in unison, and you can hear both. And that shape shifting, I believe, when you are initiated, right, and you die to this incarnation through these rituals and rites, you open yourself up and allow, God or these entities to enter you. And, the whole bloodline thing, blue bloods and shit like that of the elite, the RH negative, which I have RH negative, and I'm sure some of you out there probably do as well. Different rare blood types, different lineage. When initiated, going through that process, these rituals basically open a portal within themselves and allow these entities to come into them. That's why you see like celebrities and shit like that talking about their alter egos, right? They have that demon that's within them now, and when you see them, the reptilian shape shifting shit, where you'll almost see them phase in and out. I don't feel like it's because they're actually a lizard person at all. I feel like it's because they're genetically compatible and they've went through the rites or the rituals, right? They've sold their soul and allowed that entity to enter them, and under the right conditions, right? Whether it's like different cameras or technology that picks it up, or spectrums of light through the cameras, or whether it's because they get excited sexually, or who knows what brings it on. But you can see like this phase shift where that serpent entity that's within them, kind of phases in and out. You can kind of see like the slits in the eyes, or we've even seen some people even look like they have like, scales, for a brief moment, and then they kind of shift back. Or same thing with the ones who freeze, right? I believe that's because they've been mind controlled and with hypnosis to such an extent, right? To allow these entities entrance into their bodies, into their vessels. That certain words, certain sounds and frequencies just vamp them out of there. They get locked up and they're just frozen. They're not home anymore. They've shifted into one of their, because they've been fractured and fragmented so badly through the satanic ritual abuse, the trauma-based mind control, that there's layers and layers of personalities through that trauma, through that brainwashing, right? So just say they're on TV like Shaq and shit, where he's like, or Katy Perry or whatever. Like, think about all the people it's happened to. Like, they have lots of lights around them, like from the television or like TV sets or concerts, or sound, right? Sound systems, different frequency noises, and something like that probably triggers it, or a word is spoken, or, because you insert words, images, phrases, in those, because our brain fires on electrical impulses. And through the ritual abuse, the trauma-based mind control, they traumatize you. And your brain automatically tries to repress and forget bad shit, right? That way you don't carry it around. It's like to keep you from destroying yourself, because that bad shit creates stress. It eats you alive. Your immune system is shut down and everything. If you constantly stayed in fight or flight from that, you'd be depressed, you'd be fucked up. So your brain represses it intentionally. But when you're really traumatized or shocked by something like that, like that's why on television, it's like all the, gore and horror and all of that, right? The news is so tragic and crazy, and, violence is everywhere. The internet's full of it, all of it, because, when that happens, those impulses are firing, where you see that traumatic event and it causes that impulse, that connection from one place to another, for that memory to fracture, to fragment, it splits, right? And where that split is created, now instead of one pathway, neural pathway, there's two, right? And then that's an alter. That's there's a crack, a fracture within your mind where that traumatic experience happened, and that's what you call an alter. And in that alter, they can insert a word, an image, a phrase, a color, a shape, anything they want, really, to connect to that experience, right? That way they can re-trigger that experience anytime they want. Say you're you know, code word, you know, your linguistic programming is green. So every time you hear the word green, it takes you back to when you were beaten by somebody. You know, it's like green, you know. So every time you hear the word green, and if it's done right, you know, like, and some people, you know, it's letters, it's all kinds of shit, right? And then there's an altar created, and because that altar is created, that fragment, it allows entities, they can attach entities, right? Or they can enter you in those fractures or fragments. And those fractures allow them to insert new personas, new personalities. They start building up new personalities. So they fracture you, make layers of you. You know, one is like very sexual, one is fucking mad and angry, like, you know, disassociate your identities, right? And create like a Manchurian candidate, a sleeper cell by doing this, you know? So, and I know it sounds heavy, and I know it sounds probably far-fetched for some people, but this is actually how it works. So, where we're at here, and see, you know, this language, a lot of the language, especially those that are initiated, they understand how the subconscious works. And they know that your brain will interpret certain words one way. You know, your conscious left brain will take it one way, but if they can subvert the left brain, the right brain takes it in an entirely different way. It doesn't hear it as language like your left brain does. It is the sound is associated with a part of the brain. So it's just a different type of speaking, different type of language, and a different effectiveness to you, right? If you can subvert the left brain. And that's how hypnosis is so effective, especially ritual abuse, where you're traumatized and fucked up to do it. So, the magical staff we read about in ancient books with that same energy, these staffs can change the Earth's gravitational pull with respect to a specific object at any given moment. You know, these staffs have the ability to provide a person with the power to shapeshift as long as the person was born with the proper genetics in order to do so. Staffs can also cure various diseases. Remember, dis-ease is just distortions in your field. Some of the tools and the machines I'm speaking of are under the dome of the rock in Jerusalem. They were hidden there by Mano and Gamma before the destruction of the first holy temple. All the man, and some in the NLP and all this is intense. I don't want to waste all my time explaining it all. All these energies and tools can be very helpful and necessary. They can also be very destructive and threatening if used by satanic and corrupted human beings. How funny he says that. The power of the pyramid and the pyramid code depends quite a bit on these tools and the energy they can create. These tools were created by aliens. They were not created naturally by the creator God. Yeah, fallen angels, right? Archons, demonic entities, right? Disembodied entities, unnatural beings. They have been used for thousands of years, but my disappointment, they fell into the wrong hands. I hope something will happen soon to remove this threat from our universe forever. I believe that in the not too distant future, the right people will rise who will neutralize the power of evil and come to find the treasure that lies beneath the pyramids and the dome of the rock. I believe that the knowledge will be exposed to the people and the world will come to the true fifth dimensional consciousness of the divine self. Whoever does not reach the fifth dimension will simply become extinct from the universe and will not reincarnate anymore. This means that even their spirit or soul will no longer exist in any capacity. Those who shall survive shall thrive, and eventually shall reach higher dimensions, even as high as the 9th or 10th dimension, as a collective communal awareness. In my opinion, these are the days of the Messiah. Now, we're going to go to the pyramid one before we switch gears. It's the mysticism of the pyramid. Where is it at? I think it's the next one. Structure of the pyramid. Yeah, let's go here. Structure of the pyramid. So the pyramid consists of 4 equilateral triangular surfaces. Each triangle has 3 equal sides and 3 vertices. The inner surface within each of the triangles is known as the divine surface. God resides within each of the triangles or divine surfaces and is as an integral part of the pyramid. The 4 equilateral surfaces of the pyramid allow us to understand that each pyramid has 4 visible divine surfaces projecting from the exterior of the pyramid into the universe, as well as 4 internal divine surfaces radiating into the pyramid. The base of the pyramid is the basic divine surface that consists of a square, 4 vertices. The square radiates its energy through its surface, both internal and external, as well as its 4 vertices to the apex at the top of the pyramid. Each vertex at the base of the pyramid faces a different direction: north, south, east, and west. Each wall, divine surface of the pyramid also faces different direction: north, south, east, west. Each vertex at the base of the pyramid provides energy for the living, human and animals, plant life, the inanimate, and the spirit. All of these vertices as one radiate and absorb the divine energy from the apex at the top of the pyramid. The apex is always connected by laser or solar radiation to the original divine energy source. On all of the divine surfaces and all the vertices, energy radiates and absorbs the divine energy simultaneously. The pyramid both projects and receives energy. The pyramid transmits through its divine surfaces the divine energy that radiates outward, but also inward through its internal divine surfaces. The divine surface at the base of the pyramid radiates energy into the pyramid, upward to the apex, towards the spirit, and downward into the earth, towards the physical. When the pyramid rises and flies as it did in the ancient days, I guess the pyramid used to fly, according to him. Light could be seen coming out of the apex and 4 from the vertices on the base towards north, south, east, and west. There were 12 lights at the bottom of the base divine surface in the shape of a circle that could only be seen when flying. These lights symbolize the zodiac. Additionally, there was 1 light in the middle of the circle that represented the divine light. Even today, there are spaceships that exist in the shape of pyramids, exactly how I described them. Here, spaceships exist in many shapes and styles, such as pyramids, cylinders, saucers, flying triangles, and many other different shapes. There are motherships that look like massive industrialized cities that just hover in space, waiting for incoming and outgoing flights. The size of each is unimaginable. Motherships usually hover in space without motion. They rarely move, hover, and fly to different geographical locations. Every pyramid stores worldly power and divine energy eternally due to the way the pyramid was constructed by the Fata Soul. Every pyramid was built in different sizes, but every wall is always at a 51-degree angle with a precise angle relative to the sun. Each pyramid is also connected to the 12 star systems in our zodiac. As I said earlier, every pyramid today is facing north towards the North Star. The original pyramids were built by the divine energetic powers, but have been preserved throughout the years by the alien energy, Fatasol, through EMP, EMLP. The pyramid personifies the reality of the divine energy, embodying itself in the material world. The divine energies resides in every one of its creations, as well as all the creations of other beings, aliens, Fatasol, or simple human beings. The 4 walls of the pyramid personify, signify, and symbolize the divine revelation multiplied by 4. A very interesting, to say the least, looking into this. And if you guys, I believe you can find this for free. I don't have the link for you guys right now, but it's called, I think it's called, what's it called? Pyramid Code. Right, the Pyramid Code. You can find it for a free download. This is a pretty fucking interesting read. It's really far out there though. With some of it, this is what it means in the Bible when it talks about people, in the last days, false prophets will arise, right? Instead of sound doctrine, right? It'd be the delusions from their own minds. Like people, we've gotten so far away from that, like Like we don't remember like anything, that the Bible said. The Bible's been so fucking discredited by everyone, right? And been attacked by everyone, right? To where religion is trash, right? It is. Religion is trash. And whether or not Christianity is the most legit religion in the world, and Christ is king, and all that is neither here nor there, because it's been Christianity has been vilified because the way that people who claim to represent Christianity behave. They're hypocrites, they're judgmental, they're arrogant, it's like they talk about being persecuted, and they have the largest religion in the fucking world, and then you wonder why the fastest growing religion right now is the Muslims, right? It's a big reason why. Um, it's a big reason why, because of Christianity and the bad rep it's got. And a lot of people are returning to Christianity in droves right now. Like they've gotten their taste of tarot, astrology, the occult and shit. The last few years astrology was very conducive to that, as Pluto was ascended above the ecliptic. Now I believe it's descending back down for a moment, and like Pluto and Aquarius and all this, like, so we have different alignments. And if I'm not 100% accurate on that, don't sue me for that, or don't fault me for that. But because of that, now people are going back away, from the occult again. So it's like we had Pluto was conducive to like that occult energy, and people were like, getting their feet wet, and all of that. And now they're like gravitating back towards, Christianity. And, I've even seen people that, spit a lot of new age bullshit and garbage have now become Christian pastors online and shit. And like, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it at all, but it's like just the fakeness of a lot of these people out there. It's like, not that being Christian is fake at all. So don't get me wrong. If you're Christian, I'm not knocking you in any way, shape, or form. But it's like, it's like it feels like a hustle, like the people that are all of a sudden, they've been talking all the collective consciousness, new age, airy fairy, woo woo bullshit for years, denouncing Jesus and Christianity and all this. Now all of a sudden they're claiming to be fucking pastors and Christians again, and born again, and like, speaking the Bible and all that, because it gets them paid. It gets them followers. The Christian community, like, accepts them with open arms, because they love to hear a good story about how somebody was into new age, and or the occult, or tarot, or astrology, and now they're back to Jesus. They learned their way, because they learned, because they found out they were going to hell, right? Like, how many stories have you seen like that online? And I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm not saying you're wrong if you're going back to Jesus. But I'm saying is like, there's just some of it is so disingenuous to see these people doing this. It's like, they get same people that does this shit get sponsors by like fucking dog shit drinks, like these fake spiritual drinks, and they're acting like they drink this crap, like that's gross as fuck, to like keep their consciousness in tune and their spirits high. It's like, no, you're being paid to drink that shit. That's why you're doing it. It has nothing to do with your spirit. And all the people that you have commenting on your post are paid by them too. You're all working together because you're all paid by the same fucking person to promote this nasty shit, you know? Same thing with the Christian shit, you know? They're like all in cahoots trying to start churches and shit like that. And it's like, and it's like they're just grifters. You know, they're grifters, and they're grifting Christianity now because it's becoming popular to do again. And I'm not saying like I don't believe in God or I don't believe in Christ. I do. I think that Christ is king. Christ is the highest state of consciousness and the highest state of the spirit that we have. But that we're all the sons of God, and there's a story about all of us, and it's not meant to be externalized the way that it is. And that exoteric understanding is not the genuine understanding of all of this. So I know let's go to the Emerald Tablets of Thoth. I probably just lost a lot of people by talking about that, but I don't care, man. I just don't care. Like, I'm gonna always say what I think and how I feel. I am always gonna do that. And people can think I'm a Luciferian or whatever. That's not true either. Like, that's not what I'm into. Just because I've studied witchcraft and all that, that's not what I'm into either. I love God. I just don't see, and God is, Satan is a part of God. God created Satan if Satan exists. You get it? Hermes, Thoth, all of these are different archetypes of one collective source. And we're a different archetype of that. It's all connected, and that's why it's just such nonsense to hear people, say that everyone's connected, we're all one, and then say that they create their own reality. It's like, how do you create your own separate reality from everyone else and manifest your own separate reality, but you say we're all one? It's like the hypocrisy and all the new age shit and all of it. It's like people just don't know how to be genuine no more. They don't know how to be real anymore. And if you say the truth, they think you're trying to be controversial or trying to go against the grain. Sorry, I'm not polished, like as some of these people are, when it comes to this shit. Maybe I cuss too much or whatever. I don't dress the way people think I should. I have shit in the background people think is evil. It's like, I don't give a fuck. I'm just me. And I know that, you being just you as well, that is the most powerful frequency is authenticity. People say the highest vibration is love, right? True. But the most potent and powerful vibration and frequency that even surpasses love is authenticity, right? There's nothing more magnetic, nothing more potent than just being genuine and true to yourself and authentic. You have a far more powerful, aura, far more powerful magnetism that way than you do by pretending to be full of love and you're not. Sometimes I get pissed. Sometimes I'm not full of love. Sometimes I have righteous indignation at, governments and shit for, doing fucked up stuff to the population, for religions doing fucked up stuff to people, for, creators doing fucked up stuff to people. And I'm not saying I've never been fucked up. I have, I've done fucked up things. I don't think I'm better than nobody, but, at the same time, I feel like it's okay to be outraged. It's okay to be angry. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to be real. It's okay to like secular music if it makes you happy. Yeah, you better understand that there is an agenda behind it. There is a hypnotic aspect to music. If you like television, whether it's gore or whatever, like, you better understand there's agenda behind it. You like, educate yourself on these things. But if some people like junk food, I'm one of those people. I love sweets and shit. It's like, everything in moderation, I guess, is what I'm saying. And I'm saying, like, you like what you like. It's like, just understand, like, what you like, what you're watching, what you're listening to, what you're ingesting, what it's actually doing to you, because this world is nothing but program on top of program. And it's up to you to decide how you're programmed. You can choose to program yourself by what you watch, by what you listen to. And I would much rather program myself, watching and listening to things that I feel like are genuine, or people that I feel like are real, knowing people are bought and paid for and trying to fucking steal your soul or hypnotize you or whatever. It's like, I can't get down with it, man. It's like, sorry. It's like, I can't. I don't care how, theatrical it is and how fucking entertaining it is. It's like, when I know there's shills and it's just garbage, I can't watch it. I can't get with it. I get so much more out of, what I feel like are real people giving real opinions and, dropping real facts and real knowledge, So, Emerald Tablets of Thoth. The history of the tablets, dating back 36,000 years. This is Thoth. He was the builder of the Great Pyramid of Giza, erroneously attributed to Cheops. For some 16,000 years, he ruled the ancient race of Egypt. Let's just go ahead and go into this. This is the history. I, Thoth the Atlantean, master of mysteries, keeper of records, mighty king, magician, living from generation to generation, being about to pass into the halls of Amenti. And remember, that lady said that those were the halls of Amenti, which, I don't know if that's true, because he's being about to pass into the halls of Amenti, meaning it's, and think about like the, what is it called with the Norse, right? It's Valhalla, right? And they have like a great hall where they dine and eat and then fucking fight and kill each other and do it all over again, right? So, the halls of Amenti, set down for the guidance of those that are to come after. These records of the mighty wisdom of great Atlantis. In the great city of Kior, on the island of Undal, and a time far past, I began this incarnation, not as the little men of the present age did. The mighty ones of Atlantis live and die. And remember, mighty derives from like men of renown. It's, it's Nephilim. It's the mighty men, heroes of old, men of renown. These are giants, right? Or lofty men is another, translation for this. But rather from aeon to aeon did they renew their life in the halls of Amenti, where the river of life flows eternally onward. 100 times 10 have I descended the dark way that led into light. And as many times as I ascended from the darkness into the light, my strength and power renewed. Now for a time I descend, and the men of Kim shall know me no more. But in a time yet unborn will I rise, again mighty and potent, requiring an account of those left behind me. Then beware, O men of Kim, if ye have falsely betrayed my teaching, for I shall cast ye down from your high estate into the darkness of the cave from whence ye came. Betray not my secrets to the men of the north, nor the men of the south, lest my curse fall upon ye. And in the Bible, the north means the hidden or the deep. So that would be like if you think outside of the firmament, right? North would be out, like the North Star would be outer space, right? Men of the north. Men of the south, I guess, would be those inside the earth, inner earth, under the earth. What? Who knows? Into the darkness of the cage from where you came. Betray not my secrets to the men of the north or the men of the south, lest my curse fall upon ye. Remember and heed my words, for surely will I return again and require of thee that which ye guard. What, your soul? I, even from beyond time, from beyond death, will I return, rewarding or punishing as ye have requited your trust. Great were my people in the ancient days, great beyond the conception of the little people now around me, knowing the wisdom of old, seeking far within the hearts of infinity knowledge that belonged to earth's youth. Wise we were with the wisdom of the children of light who dwelt among us. Strong were we with the power drawn from the eternal fire. And all of these, greatest among the children of men was my father, Thothme, keeper of the great temple, link between the children of light who dwelt within the temple and the races of men who inhabited the 10 islands, mouthpiece after the 3 of the dweller of Unal, speaking to the kings with the voice that must be obeyed. Now, I want you to kind of listen to this too. Like, think about this, like what he's saying here. The greatest among the children of men was my father, Thothme, right? Keeper of the great temple, like the temple right here, the third temple is here. So the great temple would be like, God or something, maybe, or the God of this world. The link between the children of the light who dwelt within the temple and the races of men who inhabited the 10 islands. And think about the 10 islands like the 10 dimensions, right? Just saying, it's a possibility. Mouthpiece after the 3, because we're triune being, right? The Trinity. The dweller of Unal, speaking to the kings. And remember the kingship, the sovereign beings, because we're all royalty, with a voice that must be obeyed. Grew I there from a child into manhood, being taught by my father the elder mysteries. Until in time there grew within the fire of wisdom, until I burst into a consuming flame. Not desired I, but the attainment of wisdom, meaning he was enlightened, right? Until on a great day the command came from the dweller of the temple that I be brought before him. Few were there among the children of men who had looked upon that mighty face and lived and remembered the face of God. No one has seen him, the dweller of the temple. The spirit indwelling within the temple burst into a flame, right? Like he was enlightened. The spirit dwelled within him. At least that's my interpretation of this. Maybe it was a physical, actual deal here. Either one. For not as the sons of men are the children of light when they are not incarnate in a physical body. So, not as the sons of men are the children of light when they're not in a physical body. So, we are the children of light in a lot of different texts and books, right? But sons of men, when we're in the physical form, children of light would be like our angelic form or our soul form or spiritual form, in a lot of different, esoteric or occult beliefs. And I'm, schools of thought, but I'm not saying that's what he's saying. I'm just saying. Chosen was I from the sons of men, taught by the dweller so that his purposes might be fulfilled, purposes yet unborn in the womb of time. Long ago I dwelt in the temple, learning ever and yet ever more wisdom until I too approached the light emitted from the great fire. Taught me he the path to Amenti, the underworld, where the great king sits upon his throne of might. Deep I bowed in homage before the lords of life and the lords of death, receiving as my gift the key of life. Free was I of the halls of Amenti, bound not by death for the circle of life. Far to the stars I journeyed until space and time became as naught. Then, having drunk deep of the cup of wisdom, I looked into the hearts of men, and there found I great mysteries and was glad. For only in the search of truth could my soul be stilled and the flame within be quenched. Down through the ages I lived, seeing those around me taste of the cup of death and return again into the light of life. Gradually, from the kingdoms of Atlantis, passed waves of consciousness that had been one with me, only to be replaced by spawn of a lower star. You know, in the spawn of that lower star, I want to kind of, throw out a couple of things. Spawn of a lower star could be the North Star, Polaris. A lot of people believe that this matrix, like the flat Earth concept, 369, right? I've shown the video like built on Polaris, that concept of the North Star actually being part of the matrix and how it's all held together. Or that spawn of the lower star could be Saturn, right? Satan, or even the sun, just kind of thinking, kind of putting a few things out there. Down through the ages I lived, seeing those around me, by spawn of a lower star, right? And these waves of consciousness that had been one to be replaced by spawn of a lower star. It could be like offspring, the children, 7 sons of Satan, right? The children of the fallen, right? The Nephilim, right? Or, us, right? Being the spawn of, Enki and Enlil. It could be a few different things. Or us being the spawn of a lower star in general. In obedience to the law, the word of the master grew into flower. Like the lotus, the Vesica Pisces, downward into darkness turned the thoughts of the Atlanteans. Polar shift into negativity. Until at last his wrath arose from the Izguanti, the dweller. This word has no English equivalent, means a state of detachment, speaking the word, calling the power. Deep in Earth's heart, the sons of Amenti heard, and hearing directed the changing of the flower of fire that burns eternally, changing and shifting using the logos until the great fire changed its direction, right? So think about that. Like the physical, we manifested into physical, the spawn of a lower star, and there was a pole shift. We polarized towards negativity. Ruled by these governors, these archons. Demiurge. Over the world then broke the great waters, and here came the great flood, the age of Pisces, the deluge. Drowning and sinking, changing the earth's balance until only the temple of light was left standing on the great mountain of Undal, still rising out of the water. Some there who were living, saved from the rush of the fountains, called to me then the master, saying, "Gather ye together, my people, take them by the arts ye have learned afar across the waters until ye reach the land of the hairy barbarians, dwelling in caves of the desert. Follow there the plan that ye know of." Now think about this too. Gather ye together, my people, right? And he's talking about he's different than humans, right? Take them by the arts ye have learned. So remember how the Watchers teach us like the forbidden arts and shit. Just saying, right? And follow the plan that ye know of. Gathered I then my people and entered the great ship of the master. Upward we rose into the morning. Dark beneath us lay the temple. Suddenly over it rose the waters, vanished from earth until the time appointed was the great temple. And remember, the Anunnaki used their ships like during the flood, and they vanished, right? They went up in space, according to the Lost Book of Enki, you know. And leaving us under the water could be like allegorical, right? Of us being submerged consciously in a fallen state. Gathered I then my people and entered the great ship of the master. Upward we rose in the morning. Dark beneath us lay the temple. Suddenly it rose over the waters, vanished from the earth until the time appointed was a great temple. Fast we fled toward the son of the morning. The son of the morning, right? Lucifer, right? How about that? Until beneath us lay the children and lay the land of the children of Kim, raging. Why were they so pissed is what you need to think, because they were fucking drowned, right? They hopped in spaceships, flew up into the air, and then flooded the fucking earth, right? Think about this. Why were they pissed? They came with cudgels and spears lifted in anger, seeking to slay and utterly destroy the sons of Atlantis. You know, think about this. And all of these different Atlas, Atlantis, you know, there's so many different tales of this, you know, and think about you know, Ea, who was lord of the you know, earth, and then Enki, lord of the water, right? And you think about the god Poseidon with his trident, and then, you know, his children, which were the mermaids, all this, like these water entities too, you know, Atlantis. It's just crazy. Saying it's like always you see these consistencies. Then I raised my staff, remember the last text, and I directed a ray of vibration, striking them still in their tracks as fragments of stone of the mountain. Think about that. I raised my staff, and think about, you know, this rod of God, or is this the spine? I raise my staff, right? Different things here we can kind of consider. Directed a ray of vibration. Interesting. Striking them still in their tracks as fragments, and we're fragmented pieces of God, right? Of stone. And remember, Christ is the cornerstone. You know, a lot of people believe the mountains used to be giants. So just kind of, you know, of the mountain, stones of the mountain. So then I spoke to them in words calm and peaceful, telling them of the might of Atlantis, saying we were children of the sun and its messengers. And remember, messengers, right? These were, you know, the watchers. These are the 200, you know. Cowed I them by my display of magic science, until at my feet they groveled when I released them, you know, so they were worshiping them like gods. Long dwelt we in the land of Kim, and yet long again, until obeying the commands of the Master, who while sleeping yet lives eternally. I sent for me the sons of Atlantis, sent them in many directions, that from the womb of time wisdom might rise again in her children. Long time dwelt I in the land of Kim, great works by wisdom within me upward grew into the light of knowledge, the children of Kim. Watered by the rains of my wisdom, blasted I then a path to Amenti, so that I might retain my powers. So a path to the underworld, right? Living from age to age, a son of Atlantis, keeping the wisdom, preserving the records. Great grew the sons of Kim, conquering the people around them, growing slowly upwards in soul force. Now for a time I go from among them in the dark halls of Amenti, deep in the halls of the earth before the lords of the powers, face to face once again with the dweller. Raised I high over the entrance a doorway, a gateway leading down to Amenti. Few there would be with courage to dare it. Few passed the portal to dark Amenti. raised over the passage a mighty pyramid using the power that overcomes Earth force. Gravity is what they say, or magnetism. Who knows, right? Deep and yet deeper, I placed a force house or chamber. From it, I carved a circular passage reaching almost to the great summit. There in the apex, I set the crystal, sending the ray into the time space, drawing the force from out of the ether, concentrating upon the gateway to Amenti. Other chambers I built and left vacant. To all seeming, yet hidden within them, are the keys to Amenti. He who in courage would dare the dark realms, let him be purified first by long fasting. Lie in the sarcophagus of my stone in my chamber, then reveal to I him the great mysteries. Soon shall he follow to where I shall meet him. Even in the darkness of earth shall I meet him. I, Thoth, Lord of wisdom, meet him and hold him and dwell with him always. And, think about it. The dark realms, let him be purified, right? He's doing a ritual, long fasting, the sarcophagus, right? Just like you see with Skull and Bones, they get a coffin and everything, right? Then reveal to him the great mysteries. And what's he do? Soon he'll follow, and even in the darkness, I'll meet him and hold him and dwell with him always. It's saying exactly what I said, right? Do the initiation ritual, right? That spirit is able to inhabit the person, right? They give up that, they sell that, their soul force, right? Give it over to that entity and allow that entity to inhabit them. And they're given wisdom and, riches and fame and all of that in return. And they're used as a vessel. Built I the great pyramid, patterned after the pyramid of earth force, burning eternally so that it too might remain through the ages. In it, I built my knowledge of magic science so that it might be here when again I return from Amenti. While I sleep in the halls of Amenti, my soul roaming free will incarnate and dwell among men in this form or another. And then it's got Hermes, thrice born. So think about that. He's telling you, my soul roaming free will incarnate and dwell in among men in this form or another. So he's just backing up the shit I said, all of it. Emissary on earth am I of the dweller, fulfilling his commands, so man might be lifted. Now return I to the halls of Amenti, leaving behind me some of my wisdom. Remember, the son of the morning is like Lucifer coming into somebody. Preserve ye, keep ye the command of the dweller. Lift ever upwards your eyes towards the light. Surely in time ye are one with the master. Surely by right ye are one with the master. Surely by right ye are one with the all. Now I depart from ye, know my commandments, keep them and be them, and I will be with you, helping and guiding you into the light. Now before me opens a portal. Go I down into the darkness of night. Now this will be the last one we read from this, and this is about the halls of Amenti. And, keep in mind, we had the lady saying, like this was, the halls of Amenti that were discovered, right? So deep in the earth's heart lies the halls of Amenti, far neath the islands of sunken Atlantis. Halls of the dead and halls of the living, bathed in the fire of the infinite all. Far in a past time, lost in space-time, children of light look down on the world. See the children of men in their bondage, bound by the force that came from beyond. Knew they that only by freedom from bondage could man ever rise from the earth to the sun. Down they descended and created bodies, taking the semblance of men as their own. The masters of everything said after their forming, we are they who were formed from the space dust, partaking of life from the infinite all, living in the world as children of men, like and yet unlike the children of men. So are these like reptilians, you know? They're living like the children of men, but aren't like children of men, right? Then for a dwelling place, far beneath the earth's crust blasted great spaces there by their power. Spaces apart from the children of men, surrounded them by the forces and powers, shielded from harm, they, the halls of the dead. Side by side then, placed they other spaces, filled them with life and with light from above. Builded they then the halls of Amenti, and they might dwell eternally there, living with life to eternity's end. 32 were there of the children. Now think about like the 32 degrees, right? And then 32 degrees, 33, the age of Jesus. 32 degrees is when water freezes. So 33 is above freezing, which allows it to be fluid, right? So I want you to kind of think of the symbolism here that you're being given. You know, 30 and 2 were the children, were there of the children, sons of light who had come among them, seeking to free from the bondage, right? Freemen, Freemasons, free agents, bondage of darkness, who were bound by the force from beyond. Remember, water becomes free at 33, right? Because it's frozen, 32 and below. Deep in the halls of life grew a flower, flaming, expanding, driving backward the night. Placed in the center, a ray of great potence, life-giving, filling with the power of all who came near it. Placed they around it, thrones, 2 and 30, right? 32 again. Placed for each of the children of the light. Placed so that they were bathed in the radiance, filled with the life from eternal light. There, time after time, placed by their first created bodies, so that they might be filled with the spirit of life. 100 years out of each 1,000 must the life-giving light flame forth on their bodies, quickening, awakening the spirit of life. There in the circle from aeon to aeon sit the great masters, living a life not known among men. There in the halls of life they lie sleeping. Free flows their soul through the bodies of men, right? Once again, like I said, through the bodies of men, right? Being channeled into men, right? Possessing men, right? Those who are initiated, you know, and you've seen the 32, it's very, you know, people can think what they want. They can say I'm reaching or they don't get it. If you don't get it, I'm sorry. Just, you know, read it more than once. I think it will come to you. Look at some of my older videos. I think it will come to you eventually. Or just open your mind, you know, and see it from different perspectives other than, you know, like one way or the way you think you know it. And a lot of people don't want to believe that Thoth, you know, could be Lucifer or could be, you know, that this text could be from someone who was in, you know, Freemasons and who, you know, this was a text specifically, you know, giving rituals and directions and all kinds of shit, you know. Very, very esoteric and occultic. They're in the circle from aeon to aeon, great masters, living a life not known among men. They're in the halls of life, they lie sleeping. Free flows their soul through the bodies of men. Time after time, while their bodies lie sleeping, incarnate they in the bodies of men, teaching and guiding onward and upward out of the darkness into light. There in the hall of life, filled with their wisdom, not known to the races of men, living forever neath the cold fire of life, sit the children of light. Times when they awaken, come from the depths to be lights among men, infinite they among finite. You know, and are these like ascended masters, you know, shit like that, you know, Christ, you know, Buddhas. He who by progress has grown from the darkness, lifted himself from the night into light, free as he made of the halls of Amenti, free of the flower of light and of life, guided he then by wisdom and knowledge, passes from man to the master of life. There he may dwell as one with the masters, free from the bonds of the darkness at night. And in numerology, people believe there is a school of thought that 33 life paths are people that have lived so many lives, and it's ascended master, master teacher, master healer. 11, 22, and 33 are the master numbers. And that, the 33, it means you've been all of the different life paths. It means you've been an 11, a 22, and now you're a 33. And 33s are incredibly influential, right? Trendsetters. They go against the grain. They have extra power and resistance to a lot of shit as well. That they are considered ascended masters, people that have ascended before and have chosen to come back, or this is their last time on earth, right? I am a 33 life path. Not saying I'm special, but I'm a 33 life path. Albert Einstein, 33, like many of the most influential people on earth has been 33 life paths, and other master numbers as well, 11s and 22s. 11, are very influential speakers. 22s are builders, right? And then, 33s are teachers and healers. Anyways. And I wonder if Jesus, because he was 33, if that was a symbolism, probably a 33 life path as well. Seated with the flower of radiance, set 7 lords from space-time above us, right? The 7 main planets, right? Helping and guiding through infinite wisdom the pathway through time of the children of men, mighty and strange, veiled with their power, silent, all-knowing, drawing the life force, different yet one with the children of men. I, different yet one with the children of light. They're the governors, the archons, the watchers, right? Custodians and watchers of the force of man's bondage, ready to loose when the light has been reached. First and most mighty sits the veiled presence, the Lord of Lords, the infinite 9, over the others from each cosmic cycle, weighing and watching the progress of men. Under he sits the Lord of the cycles, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, each with his mission, each with his power, guiding, directing the destiny of man. There sit they, mighty and potent, free of all time and space, not of this world, they, yet akin to it. Elder brothers, they, of the children of men, judging and weighing. They with their wisdom, watching the progress, light among men. There before them was I led by the dweller, watched him blend with one from above. And I wonder if this is the one, like Christ, right? Like watched him blend with one from above, like the elect one, and that's a capital. So I just wonder if it's Jesus, or Christ. Then from he came forth a voice saying, Great art thou, doth, among children of men, free henceforth to the halls of Amenti, master of life among children of men. Taste not of death, except as thou will it. Drink thou of life to eternity's end. Henceforth, forever is life, thine for the taking. He gave him eternal life. Henceforth is death at the call of thy hand. Dwell here or leave here when thou desireth, free as Amenti to the Son of Man. Take thou up life in what form thou desireth. Children of the light that has grown among men, choose thou thy work, for all souls must labor, never be free from the pathway of light. One step thou hast gained along the pathway upward, infinite now, okay, on the pathway upward, Infinite now, one step that thou hast gained in a long pathway upward. Infinite now is the mountain of light. Each step thou taketh but heightens the mountain. All of thy progress but lengthens the goal. Approach ye ever the infinite wisdom. Ever before thee recedes the goal. Free are ye made now of the halls of Amenti, to walk hand in hand with the lords of the world, one in one purpose, working together, bringers of light to the children of men. And remember the light bearer, right? Then from his throne came one of the masters, taking my hand and leading me onward through all the halls of the deep hidden land. Led he me through the halls of Amenti. And remember, Lucifer is like emperor of the underworld too, by the way. So just saying. Amenti is the underworld. So it's very interesting. He sounds a whole lot like Lucifer. Just saying. Led me through the halls of Amenti, showing the mysteries, and he's thought too. And many people compare Lucifer to the intellect, and his thought, right? So I'm hoping you're seeing like the symbolism and comparisons here, right? The light bearer. Showing the mysteries that are not known to man, through the dark passage downward, he led me into the hall where sits the dark death. Vast as space lay the great hall before me, walled by darkness but yet filled with light. Before me arose a great throne of darkness. Veiled on it, seated a figure of night. Darker than darkness sat this great figure. Dark with the darkness of the night. Before it paused, the master speaking the word that brings about life. O master of darkness, guide of the light. O master of darkness, guide of the way from life unto life. Before thee I bring a son of the morning. Touch him not ever with the power of night. Call not his flame to the darkness of night. Know him and see him, one of our brothers. Lifted from darkness into the light, release thou his flame from its bondage. Free let it flame to the darkness of night. Raise then the hand of the figure. Forth came a flame that grew clear and bright. Rolled back swiftly the curtain of darkness, unveiled the hall from the darkness of night. Then grew in the great space before me, flame after flame from the veil of the night. Uncounted millions leaped they before me, some flaming forth as flowers of fire. Others there were that shed a dim radiance, glowing but faintly from out of the night. Some there were that faded swiftly, others that grew from a small spark of light, each surrounded by its dim veil of darkness, yet flaming with light that could never be quenched. Coming and going, like fireflies in springtime, filled they the space with light and with life. Then spoke a voice mighty and solemn, saying, These are the lights that are souls among men, growing and fading, existing forever, changing yet living, through death into life. When they have bloomed into a flower, reached the zenith of growth in their life, swiftly they send I my veil of darkness, shrouding and changing to new forms of life. Steadily upward throughout the ages, growing, expanding into yet greater flame, lighting the darkness with yet greater power, quenched yet unquenched by the veil of the night. So grows the soul of the man ever upward, quenched yet unquenched by the darkness of night. I, death, come, and yet I remain not. For life eternal exists in the all. Only an obstacle I in the pathway, quick to be conquered by the infinite night. Awaken, O flame that burns ever inward, flame forth and conquer the veil of the night. Then in the midst of the flames, and the darkness grew there one that drove forth the night, flaming, expanding, even brighter, until at last was nothing but light. Then spoke my guide, the voice of the master. See your own soul as it grows in the light, free now forever from the Lord of the night. Forward he led me through many great spaces, filled with the mysteries of the children of light. Mysteries that man may never yet know of until he, too, is a son of the light. Backward, then he led me into the light of the hall of the light. Knelt I then before the great masters, lords of all from cycles above. Spoke he then with words of great power, saying, Thou hast been made free of the halls of Amenti. Choose thou thy work among the children of men. Then I spoke, O great master, let me be a teacher of men, leading them onward and upward until they too are lights among men, freed from the veil of the night that surrounds them, flaming them with light that shall shine among them. Spoke to me then the voice, Go, as ye will, so it be it decreed. Masters are ye of your destiny, free to take or reject at will. Take ye the power, take ye wisdom, shine as a light among the children of men. Upward then led me the dweller, dwelt I again among children of men, teaching and showing some of my wisdom, son of the light, a fire among men. Now again I tread the path downward, seeking the light in the darkness of night. Hold ye and keep ye, preserve my record. Guide shall it be to the children of men. So, very interesting. You see, the halls of Amenti, he don't describe nothing of what we've seen, in that study earlier, right? With the SAR shit, I mean, he does say there's some shit. We looked at the other one, the channeled shit, and, nobody's kind of described the same thing, but they've all described the halls of Amenti, So much when it comes to ancient Egypt and, the gods. I do know that he sounded like when he was talking about the spawn of the lower star, just all of it, it sounds like, Thoth is Lucifer. I'm just going to keep it real. Sound like he was Lucifer. So, I think I am going to wrap this one up. I'm getting pretty tired. I've been going for a long time. It's been pretty fun. So, been pretty fun. So, I do want to say thank you. I want to say thank you to each and every one of you. Yeah, I have such a bad eye infection. Sorry, guys. My eyes are red as shit. I want to say thank you to each and every one of you guys for watching. Please consider donating and supporting. We're completely viewer powered. I've been demonetized everywhere. YouTube, Facebook, fucking everywhere. You can donate PayPal.me, the Best Damn Podcast, Cash App, Best Damn Podcast, Facebook.com, John Keane, Best Damn Podcast. That's through Facebook Messenger Pay on my personal page. Or you can join me over on Patreon, patreon.com, Best Damn Podcast Official. And I just got to notice I have like 21 days to pull down all my library, my archives from Facebook and the other platforms. So all of that will be going to like Patreon and unlisted playlist on BitChute and shit like that. So I have over 200 hours of private content like for those that do donate and support to the channel, you don't have to join Patreon if you don't want to do like a monthly pledge. If you donate and support each month, I will send you the link to the playlist. I have, I think it's like 15 or 20 private videos, different playlists just here on YouTube alone. Some of my best work is private and subscription and donor only. So please share this out there, no matter where you're watching it from. Share it to your Facebook page, share it on your social media, share. That helps so much to like spread the word, especially I'm so shadow banned and hidden. Please share it. Make sure if you're watching in the live chat or you catch this on the flip side, that you hit the thumbs up. That also helps, by giving a thumbs up, hitting a like, whatever platform you watch us on. This will be on all the YouTube channels, all the Facebook pages, Rumble, BitChute. It will be everywhere. So make sure you hit the likes and share it and comment, guys. I want to hear your thoughts. Not only does it make it more interesting, I always reply to comments too. For conversations in the comment section and shit like that. But like you could drop some knowledge that people don't know, or you can add to the conversation or, inspire, me to create a new video about something I had no clue, if you want to book a personal tarot or astrology reading, they start at $35. You can do that by texting 513-393-2396, 513-393-2396, or emailing the Real Best Damn Podcast at gmail.com. For booking readings, guests on the show, business inquiries, sponsor, anything, right? That's what you do is email me or text me. And like I said, if you donate now, I'll go ahead and give you all of next month as well to get the playlist and the links for all that private stuff, private content. It's all the banned shit. So it's all the stuff that we've had removed, we gotten strikes from, all of that. And there's so much of it. So it's a lot. I've had more banned and deleted than I've had be able to stay up, and I get slammed nonstop anymore. Follow me, Facebook, Instagram, Best Damn Podcast, Twitter, The Real Best Damn. Main YouTube channel is youtube.com, Best Damn Podcast Official. My backup is youtube.com, Best Damn Podcast. It's Best Damn Podcast 2. And then I have my namesake, which is John Keen, and that's youtube.com, John Keen 33. And TikTok at the Best Damn Podcast, BitChute, Best Damn Podcast. I think Rumble's the same. So all the links are in the description. And I'll have it pinned to the top of the comment section. I hope you guys enjoy this. Share it to your groups, your social medias, and like I said, hit the like, comment, and consider donating, supporting. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I will see you next time. Y'all have an awesome, awesome night and week. Peace.